The more it changes, the more it's the same thing, as the French say. That you are really a playing of this one energy, and there is nothing else but that it is you, but that for you to be always you would be an insufferable bore. And therefore, it is arranged that you stop being you after a while, and then come back as someone else altogether. And so when you find that out, you become full of energy and delight. As Blake said, energy is eternal delight. And you suddenly see through the whole sham of things. You realize you're that. We won't put a name on it. You're that. And you can't be anything else. So you are relieved of fundamental terror. That doesn't mean that you're always going to be a great hero, that you won't jump when you hear it bang, that you won't worry occasionally, that you won't lose your temper. It means, though, that fundamentally, deep, deep down within you, you will be able to be human. So it is then that, if I may put it metaphorically, Zhuangzi said, the perfect man employs his mind as a mirror. It grasps nothing, it refuses nothing, it receives but does not keep. In other words, this is to be, put it very strictly into our modern idiom, this is to live without hang-ups. That is to say, to be able to drift like a cloud and flow like water. Seeing that all life is a magnificent illusion, a playing of energy, and there is absolutely nothing fundamentally to be afraid of.
Yeah. Hey, welcome. Nice mellow entrance there for you. I put that together this week and loved the photo of the little kiddo with the mom. So Outstanding. Glad that you're here. We have a packed evening tonight. I'm going to get over to comments first. So everybody's doing, I've had a full week this week. Lots of work on the swag line. Lots of work on the website. Pete has been extremely busy with that stuff. Unbelievable project. I've been organizing all the videos, getting descriptions put together, and I have a couple of announcements to make, which I think you guys will appreciate. I've made a number of changes to the site, so I'm going to tell you about that. But first of all, let's say hello. Hello, Magnus, Mythological Muse. Old friends, man. Hi, Kelly. Glad that you're here. It's coming. It's coming. My website's going to kill it, man. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. And the part I'm most excited about is the fact that it's going to be easier to find information in my videos. It's going to be easier to navigate my work. My work now has accumulated for years and years and years, and it is starting to become an empire. It's getting crazy. It's been a dose of reality working with Pete, because I've had to go back to everything, all of my work, and it's a mountain. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, you keep doing this stuff every day for years and years, it starts to accumulate. So I'm excited to present all of these things to you guys. Awesome. So glad that you liked it. I worked on that this week. More to come. Hi, Gail. Hi, Linda. Hi, Stacy. Hi, Don. Good to see you, man. Don, it's good to see you, buddy. I noticed that. Well, anyways, we're going to be meeting on Zoom on Sundays now. Some of you guys don't know this, but every week I meet with folks in the chat that have decided that they want to come and talk more with me and with others in the group. And every week we meet on Zoom. And that time has been on Fridays up until now. And I have, as of this week, switched it to Sundays at 1 o'clock. I don't announce it very much, but if you would like to join, we are happy to have you. It's a little family we got going on with the Zoom. And we meet, or we're going to be meeting now on Sundays at 1 o'clock Seattle time zone, or Pacific Coast time zone. And it seems that a lot of folks have trouble trying to find out what time that is in their time zone, if they live in London or if they live in China or somewhere else in the world. There's been some trouble. And so let me give you a little tip here. It's real easy to find out when Zoom is and when I'm on live and so forth, just by Googling. So simply type into Google, I live in such and such a place. What time is it in Seattle, or what time is it in my place when it's 5 o'clock or 1 o'clock on a Saturday or Sunday in Seattle? And Google will translate it for you, and then you can join us. The Zoom meeting is by invitation only, and the reason for that is to keep out not only the riffraff, but to make it for folks that are really committed, not in the sense of money or not in the sense of time, but committed to the group, in the betterment of one another and the betterment of the environment. And so in Zoom, what we do is we just talk about stuff that I have discussed not only on Saturdays, but in my previous work. And since my work covers so many subjects, our Zoom is pretty diverse. It's pretty cool. We never know exactly what we're going to be covering. And so the purpose of setting it up was to allow folks from the Saturday to bring in their questions that they had at a sort of a gathering time where you could actually see me and talk to me one-on-one in real time if you want, and it doesn't cost you anything. So you can come to Zoom, send me an email, I'll send you an invite, and I'll put you on the weekly list, and you can come and ask me anything you want. I'm not a very bashful person, and I'm happy to cover pretty much any subject that is addressed. And so I'm happy to talk with you. So if you get frustrated on Saturday nights, maybe you've tried to post some things or questions to me in chat that I haven't seen, no worries. You can come to a Zoom, shoot me an email at contactchuckjr@yahoo.com, and I'll be happy to invite you to the Zoom, send you the passcode and link, and you can join us. So we'll be meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock. If you'd like to come, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to send you an invite. We have about 200 or so people on the list. We usually get about 50 to 60 people at the meeting, so it's not too much. It's very biteable. It's very reasonable. And before it gets enormous, which it might or it might not, but if it ever gets large, it will be harder and harder to reach me one-on-one. So right now is sort of your opportunity to grab my attention firsthand, and we can talk about whatever it is you're confused about, or maybe you have some questions about the Khazarian Mafia or the God Eaters. I'm going to be bringing that up here in a minute. Maybe you've got some questions in regard to Zen or Rosicrucianism or quitting addictive religions. I can usually help people get out of religion pretty good. So if you want to come to Zoom and talk with me, I'll be happy to have a discussion with you. Yeah, exactly. That's a great point, Max. Oh, look at your symbol. Nicely done, Max. Yeah, you don't have to, at the Zoom, you don't have to be on video. You can keep your screen black. Many people keep their screen black. I've never seen them. They've been coming since the beginning. I've never seen them. They keep their video black. Most people don't even say anything. So you literally, it would be like, you know, they have in the hospitals, those areas where doctors can observe other doctors performing a surgery, or a family can observe a family member being operated on. You can sit up in a room and you can talk to others and everything and watch the surgery, and nobody in the operating room can see you. And so it's a great chance for you to observe what's going on in the Zoom, and you can be completely autonomous and you come and go as you wish. You don't have to show up on time. You don't have to stay the whole time. A lot of people will show up, they'll run a quick errand and come back. You know, they'll have to take, you know, some care of some kind of emergency or something, and they'll come back. So it's very hang loose. It's not formal at all. It's very casual. And it's not doom or gloomer stuff. We're not getting on Zoom and just talking about how bad the world is and how terrible people are and this kind of a thing. The Zoom is really to bring encouragement to people, understanding to people, clarity to people, lucidity to people, so that as they're walking in life and all the incredible stuff that's going on right now, it doesn't get overwhelming, and you can hang out and be around people who aren't, you know, going crazy, but are very methodically and systematically watching what's happening in the world, and with reason and objectivity, trying to understand what is happening. And as you guys have seen in the world right now, it is crazy what is happening right now. I don't know if you guys saw what was happening with the Southern Poverty Law Center, but that place, one of the most corrupt organizations in the world, if not the most, besides the Catholic Church, they're being uncovered. So it's really interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's coming, Max. I just got notice today that it looks like they're done, and I'll be getting those this next week. So if you've ordered an embroidered zip from me and haven't received it yet, they're coming this next week. And I'll get that all done. And Max, you will definitely have your embroidered zip up by next week. Awesome. You join the Zoom by shooting me an email at contactchuckjr@yahoo.com. And I will put you on the list. You will get an invite. And every week you will get that passcode that you need to access the Zoom. We do that to just kind of keep it family, keep it simple, and keep it from being inundated with mean people that don't have others' good interest in mind. So yeah, they want to do a lot more than that, I promise you. And I know that you know that, Hyverbal. Yes, this is how to reach me. This is how to reach me. Now, I want to play for you guys a video that you guys need to see. They cannot find my UPS. Yeah, it'll be sent United States Postal Service, friend. All my stuff goes to US Postal. You're welcome, Mintango. Okay. So I found a video. It was an older video, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, but I'm sure a lot of you haven't. So what I'm going to do is give you a little introduction here into the work that I did with the KM, the Khazarian Mafia. And this is going to give you a picture of who rules the world. Now, my KM series frustrated some people who were pretty historically buff, and they were frustrated because I didn't get into fine details like individual people. I didn't name all the names of the groups. And a lot of these things were done simply for time as well as the scholarly work that is required to be able to name every date and every person that's been involved in the KM. That's no small feat. And I certainly am not of that kind of caliber. My role here and what I do is pattern recognition. That's my role. I'm a pattern recognition guy. I'm an iconoclast. I'm a cynic. And so I present information that is not as much scholarly as it is practical, applicable, how a person can find a general pattern and then understand the basics and move on from there. The person who wants to do an in-depth discussion on all the works of the Black Pope for 5 days, you certainly could do that. And you could find every individual name and person involved with the Black Pope, and you could open that door forever. But you see, when you're trying to explain the history of an alternate history of the world, you can't get too detailed in any one thing, or you're going to end up with a video that's 800 hours long, because every single thing you cover with the KM has a rabbit hole. And that rabbit hole goes all the way to the center of the earth, literally. And so because of that, in my work in the KM, I didn't get into really fine detail with individual people that have been involved with, say, the Venetians, the Phoenicians, the Ashkenazi Jews, the Sabbatean Jews, the individual people. I would just cover little portions of each, but I wouldn't spend 2 hours talking about all the Shabbatean Jews and who is involved and all the second and third hand people and who they're involved with in the Catholic Church and so forth. So what I did is I have found a video that is going to, that involves a dear lady that is going to help explain to you the actual individual people. And if you wish to go and explore that further and deep dive on all these individual people she's going to be naming, please, my friend, by all means, go for it. I will never have the time and will never have the motivation to do a 5-hour discussion on the leader of the Zionists. I'm sorry, you're not going to get it from me, but you're going to get a general pattern. Okay. So looking at this, I wanted to show you some of this. I don't know if I'm going to show the whole thing, but this is Lauren. Now, I'm going to, first of all, post up this picture here. Okay. Now, this should be familiar to you guys. And one of the major questions I get every week is people who say, you know, Chuck, we're following the tribulation as it's been laid out in the Bible. And let me show you, Chuck, all of the symbolism in the Bible that we are following, Chuck. So how can you say, Chuck, that the prophecy in the Bible, the tribulation that it talks about, how can you say that the Bible is a false manuscript, Chuck, when we're following the exact events, Chuck, that are laid out in the Bible? Like, what's the matter with you? How can you say that it's false doctrine? Okay, there's a reason. Let me show you. Who wrote the Bible? Okay, for question number 1, who wrote the Bible? Why can't I bring up my deal? Hang on, sorry. Let me bring this up so you can see me also, because it's not going to work. Hang on. Where did you go? Here it is. Add to stage. Remove, add to stage. There. Okay, thanks for your patience. Now, the reason why I make the claim that I do is that the Bible was written by the winners, wasn't it? It was written by the Catholic Church. Okay, Catholic Church is the winners. Catholic Church is the Romans. Okay, and so what you do is you write a world script. So in 325, when they organized Western religion, they wrote a script. Okay, they wrote a script of the fall of the world. Okay, so this is the first implant that you're going to perform on the society you want to control is you're going to give them a script, a thesis. And that thesis is going to be the basics upon which that society builds their understanding of the world. And when you're a winner, you're the one who's providing all that to everybody, right? Because the losers aren't providing that because they're dead. They're no longer on the map. So the only people that are writing the history books are the ones that survived history. And the ones that survive history are the winners. Okay, really common sense here stuff that doesn't take rocket science to figure this out. Okay, so since that's the case, the winners wrote the Bible. And so what you do in 325 is you write a script, the world mythology, and put it in a book, concretize it into history, and make that book the law. So its history and religiosity become the law. So you shape the world into the history that you write. That's why they don't want you seeing stuff like Göbekli Tepe and the dark side of the moon and the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, is because those things don't fit into the history that the winners wrote. That's why the Vatican has no intention and will never let anyone into their archives, because that's the history they don't want you to see. Okay, if I'm a controller, I don't want you to see the actual truth. I want you to see the truth as I convey it. Okay, that's called an egregor. And so then I lay out this big golden turd on top of all the population. That's the true history, right? The true source and origin of the Bible, the true source and origin of the Christian, quote unquote, faith, who Jesus was, who Herod was, who the Israelites were, who the Amalekites were, who the Hittites were, who what all their history is. Remember all the lineages that are listed in Numbers, right? You give people all that. What you're doing is just laying it all out. And then you then take that book after you finish writing and you hand it to the population. Now, if you look at how the Bible was handed to population, how was it handed to population? It was handed in a language they couldn't speak, from people they couldn't question. Okay. And if you didn't buy into it, you're killed. Okay. So this is the initiation. This is how you initiate the public into the egregor. And then what happens? Well, you steal all the money, all the power and identity from the society through war, scarcity, and lack, slowly locking them into a contagious developmental paralysis, captured in recidivism in every walk of life: spiritual, financial, political, historical, scientific, biological. Okay, so what have you done? You have now captured the society, and now you're sucking the energy out of them. Money, the work, the philosophy, the telos, the imagination. You're controlling all that of the society. And if you notice how I wrote this, it's a recidivism. It's a captured recidivism, because what do you notice? The society doesn't develop. Okay, their spiritual concepts stay barbaric. Their medical concepts stay barbaric, meaning they stay thousands and thousands of years old. They don't allow the society to grow. That's why they're hiding Göbekli Tepe. They're hiding the pyramids. Like, you can't get in the pyramids anymore. They don't want you to see any of that. They don't want you to see the truth. So here's the key part. You stay in the egregor. Okay. Now watch what happens when you stay in the egregor. They spend however many centuries necessary systematically poisoning and capturing the world with the society's own authorities, so to place the world in a trajectory of sure tribulation, since the public themselves must be complicit with the plan, as humans can only be destroyed ultimately by their own enslavement. Asking permission, seeking approval, and expecting reproof. These are the mindsets of a slave. Okay, so what you do is, you as the controllers, the winners, in 325, you write the script, and then knowing that it's going to take hundreds of years for this to happen, because it's going to take a long time for the public and society to develop and be able to build themselves enough to become sort of this idea of like a giant. The larger they are, the bigger they fall. Okay. And all of the society is building, growing its population based on the egregors, the tribulation, the lies, the cons that you have put into them through your laws, your book, your dogma, your being the controllers. Okay. So what begins to happen is the society, because they believe everything in this book, they believe all the disciplines like science and education and stuff that you control is the controller. The society is buying all that stuff. They bought all the history. They believe the historical record when they say, oh yeah, the pyramids are tombs. Those are tombs, right? Right. Oh, you can trust the Southern Poverty Law Center. You can trust them. You can trust the CIA. Oh my goodness, you can trust the Pope. These are your authorities. You can trust your doctor. You can trust your pastor. These are your authorities. Okay. And so the public grows up, quote unquote, in and under the lies of those authorities. And so the public then becomes complicit in the lies. And so they believe the tribulation that the Bible tells them about. They believe the history that the Bible tells them about. They believe the development of the church, of the religiosity, the religious system of the people written in that book. So what you've now done is you have tied all the mental imagination, thought and work of the society, like the output of the society, through the egregores, through the beliefs of that society. And that society is only going to grow on the technological edge that's offered, or the historical, quote unquote, edge, medical edge, spiritual edge that is offered. And the population never moves past that because they believe it, you see? And this is why the public right now, as they see the quote unquote tribulation unfolding, right? They're saying, wow, the stuff that was written in the Bible is actually happening now. Man, that Bible must be true. Do you see how they're caught now? Because the only truth they know is the tribulation, history, and future destiny that the Bible has told them. Their imagination is squandered, is cut off, because they can't imagine outside of the box that they have been put in. And they are there by choice, you see. And remember how I said a human being, the collective, can only be destroyed by their own choice, see? And so the public then believe the lies that are in the Bible about the tribulation and so forth, and assume that's the case. And then they're complicit. They submit themselves to that destruction because they believe what the authorities told them, because that's all they know. And so this is how, right now, there's a huge confusion going on in that you have sold out Muslims, Christians, Jews that see what's happening in the world, the destruction that's happening in the world, and they assume that it's the destruction laid out in the Torah, the Bible, the Quran. Do you see? And they think, well, my book is the truth, and I'm seeing the truth happening before me, so that's the only thing that can happen. And they cannot imagine, they can't become an imaginal cell within the population and imagine a different world outcome than the one they've been told. And since the world becomes what you believe and imagine it to be, it becomes the world that the population who has bought the egregore believes it will be, believes it is going to become. And that then secures the destruction of that population because they have bought the lies. And they are caught in the shell. They're caught in the egregore. And they can't imagine a different world. And so this is what causes the alienation, because they have friends who have completely bought into this whole idea of cynicism and iconoclasm and not buying the egregore. And so you have these two quote unquote camps of people who have bought it and the people who have not bought it, rejected it. Do you see? And so even escaping the egregore is costly because these two groups can't see eye to eye. because they're believing in two different realities. They believe in two different worlds that are not congruent. These worlds don't mix. You have meaning a population of people that believes and assumes that they're doomed, that there's no hope for anyone outside the circle of trust. There's no hope for the world that's fallen. And you got a circle of people that are like, that's absolutely not true. That's an egregor. That's a lie. And here's all the psychology for you to understand. And these two groups fight it out. And even further, not fight it out, but they stay disillusioned from one another. And so the collective, because it must grow, it must expand together, you see, it's held back by its own self-consumption. This is the narcissist, the person who doesn't realize that they are their own worst enemy. The fanatic doesn't know this. The eccentric doesn't know this. They don't realize they're so far outside the lucid sense that they can't find themselves or find a way to that sense, meaning reason, objectivity, wider angle view, higher vibration. And so this is the work of what we do Saturdays, what we do on Zoom, is to initiate a different idea, a different consideration for the world that is one of allowance and tolerance and true growth, that isn't trying to parrot or follow a narrative that's been handed over. And it is imaginal people like that. It's the ones in the society that don't buy into the society and walk a different step than the society are the ones who actually change the society, because you can't change the society from within the society. You have to leave. You have to leave the farm to escape the farm. You make sense? You have to leave the psychosis to no longer be psychotic. You know, it's common sense stuff. And this is the Great Awakening. In order to understand and leave the farm and experience the Great Awakening, right? You have to leave the strata, the milieu that you've been tied into, that you've been walking in and assuming is truth. Because that world's never going to change, because the world becomes what you imagine it to be. And if you just imagine the world to be the fallen enterprise handed to you by the Catholic Church, you'll never understand. Okay. So then finally, continue practice. This is the winners continue to practice Satanism for however long it takes for a society to destroy themselves with their own fears and desires. When the world is finally ripe for harvest, initiate the tribulation under Christian, Muslim, and Jewish auspices. That's what I just explained. And the population carry it out upon themselves. Christians blaming the pagans under God's sovereignty, Muslims blaming the infidels under Allah's authority, and the Jews blaming the Goyim under Yahweh's indemnity, which is authority. Do you see? This is our world. And so this lady, this wonderful lady that I'm about to show you, is going to explain to you some of the individual names and people that have been involved in developing this egregor that was developed when the Catholic Church was formed by the Romans. And she's going to talk about that. A lot of people don't believe me when I say the Roman Catholic Church is just basically Rome redefined, regime change. And it moved from a physically brutal system to a mentally brutal system. It had a regime change, and its method of action is religion. That's how it puts brutality, fear, desire into the society, right? Is through religion, belief systems, right? Egregors, like I just explained to you. Okay, here she is. Sorry, wrong video. Here, where's it? Add a stage. No, that's not it. Here, add a stage. Okay, now what? Oh, stop that. Stop that. Okay, so look here. There's the Pentagon. Look at its shape compared to these old world buildings. You see, these aren't coincidences. Okay, those are the people that run the world. City of London, Vatican City, Washington, D.C., right? Yeah, we talked about that in the God Eaters.
Because now I'm investigating who's at the very top, who really rules the world, and I discovered it's a very, very interesting history of ancient Iranian tribes.
Please notice how she ties in through genetics the ancient Iranian tribes, which is what I talked about in the God Eater series, and how they are genetically the actual ancestors of the ruling groups that moved into Rome, that controlled the Catholic Church. She's gonna show it to you.
The original Zoroastrians and the first world Persian Empire that has controlled the world for the last 5,000 years. The interests behind the Jesuits, the entities that created the Jesuits during the Renaissance in Italy, it was none other than Alessandro Farnese, a Persian from ancient Persia. His family came through Cappadocia in eastern Turkey, eventually to Italy, and they founded the first 10 Etruscan cities in Italy. And when those were razed, they destroyed them and they created the Roman Empire. The Romans, the Etruscans, the Holy Roman Empire, they're all Iranians, they're all Persians, it's all Persian blood. Italians are Iranians. Their practices, their beliefs, their food, their clothing attire. The Pope, for instance, wears a papal tiara dome, the papal dome, which is called the papal tiara. Well, that's what men in charge of tribes in Central Asia wear.
Okay. What she mentions here in a moment is she's going to mention these people. This is straight from my God Eaters video. Okay. Straight from it. It's the exact people. This is why I liked it, because I mean, she's basically reinforcing all the stuff I talked about in the God Eaters. But look, Slavic, Scythian, Sarmatian, Hunnic, Bulgar, Iranian, and Turkish tribes are what form the Khazarian Mafia. And she affirms that here in this interview. And I just wanted to show you guys, I'm not leading you astray in the God Eaters. This is genetics, and she's going to talk about it and how all this came about.
They wear those very large domed hats. And some of the women do also, if they're a leader of the community. And then the red slippers that the Pope wears, those are Central Asian slippers. You see them in India a lot and in Asia. So there are many cultural ties and legends and religious practices that indicate over and over and over again that the Italians are really Iranians. Mm-hmm. And Romania was named for the Roman soldiers, the Iranian equestrian nomadic fighters, warriors, were brought to Romania, to Eastern Europe, and they were the soldiers, the Roman soldiers for the Roman Empire. So you see this fingerprint of Iranian DNA everywhere. And 14,000 years ago, DNA studies of a particular Iranian tribe indicate there was a mutation in the DNA. The most extreme expression is red hair and blue eyes, light blue eyes. And then more moderate expressions are blonde hair, green eyes, hazel eyes, gray eyes. You see a lot of Afghanis with gray eyes. And so now you can walk around the Davis campus or get on a train or walk by some friends sitting on the steps of a building, and you can start talking to them, and you can tell they have Iranian blood. But it has to be from both parents. It's a recessive gene. So that really got me started. And
now, it's my understanding that Aryan came from Iranian. That's the
right.
synonym. So
That's right.
it has migrated down into our most recent history, the history of World War II,
Yes.
global depression.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing from you is that this extensive history that goes back millennia, right?
Yeah, thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
Yes.
We're witnessing I don't know if it's the end game or not, but we're witnessing the contemporary expression of this bloodline in 2016.
Yes.
And I don't know where you're going with this, but
We're talking about a global network with one template carrying all of this out. And it's originates with those ancient Iranian bloodlines. And they have 10 bloodline families that sit on a council, and they're the ones who advise the Jesuits. The Jesuits work for the Iranian bloodlines, and the Jesuits were created by Alessandro Farnese, who became Pope Paul III in the Renaissance.
ladies and gentlemen, this is not a game. This is not an academic
No.
exercise, neither for Loren or for myself.
No.
I am in their house. I am working in the belly of the beast. I have suffered, and I'm not going to talk about it too much today, the repercussions of asking certain questions about my own workplace, which is I'm
Yes.
entitled to do as a citizen, as a sovereign human being, as an academic, as an American. I'm entitled to do that, and I will exercise those rights to the best of my ability. But it takes research such as this, cutting-edge research such as this, that will provide us the intellectual, the historical, the analytical framework to understand what we are facing. Because so far, these people have been very good in veiling the truth and hiding it, because the Rockefellers own the University of Chicago. The Russell Trust runs Yale University. All these bloodlines control information, scholarship, and every single aspect, and then sciences, of course, almost every single aspect of our lives that shape our world.
It traces back to the Jesuits. It traces back to Mesopotamia, to the Kabbalah and the Talmud, which were magic cult instruction books. And they recommended pedophilia in children, but they had to be under 8 years old. And it's in the Kabbalah and the Talmud. And properly practicing Jews, I'm not including them, they follow the Torah. The Talmud and the Kabbalah are satanic.
The Babylonian Talmud. Is that
Yes,
what it is?
yes.
Okay.
Those are satanic cults.
Okay, this is straight from my work with Archaics, Jason Archaics. This is from my interview with him. And in that interview, it was made very clear that the Babylonian Talmud is Satanism. And this is a description right there of it. And isn't it interesting that in this video that I came across here, that she's basically saying all the stuff that I have been talking about for years now. And she's confirming it, even the DNA that I mentioned in my video. And she's showing, like I said in my videos, hang on.
And all those satanic...
No, come back. Where'd you go? There. Come on, there. Okay. She's now saying in my video exactly what Jason and I talked about 8 months ago. Okay. Right here, read where just above the red. The Talmud addresses a wide range of topics from ritual practices to civil law and reflects the intellectual and spiritual life of Babylonian Jewry under Persian and early Islamic rule. Remember, I emphasized the Persian world when I was interviewed by Jason. Ultimately, it is a highly racist, pedophilic Zionism centered on goyim torture and blood sacrifice in the name of their God Yahweh. And remember, I showed you just a few weeks ago that the names of the fallen angels are the names that are listed out in Psalms. And I showed you guys that. It's demonic. That's why I keep telling you the Catholic Church is a demonic enterprise. They're Satanists, and they're the ones who gave all the Christians their Bible. Satanists did. Their philosophy is superior race theory, patriarchy, misogyny, exclusive God, Lucifer, blood sacrifice, and religious tribalism. Their God is Lucifer, Yahweh, of being, of evil, materialism, authority, wisdom, and power. Now let's continue.
And are those satanic cults controlled, or were they created by these ancient Iranian bloodlines?
Yes, they were.
Yes.
They were.
Expand.
For instance, the Aldo Brandini is one of the ancient Iranian bloodlines. It's a famous Italian family. And Al-Dob, Al is the, Dob is devil, Dini. Al-Dob.
The people of the devil.
Yeah, the people of the devil.
Wow.
There it is.
They're definitely satanic. They're proud of it. They're open about it. We have a website, lorenmarais.info, and we have a Rothschild ball with photographs of the Rothschilds and their guests and members of their family doing satanic practices.
This is the masked ball photos?
The masked ball.
And by the way, they're called Venetian masks, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Right.
Yes, yes. Yes.
So we can see the cultural and the historical continuities, ladies and gentlemen.
And the Venetians were Iranians.
Well, yeah, you alluded to that.
There it is.
I interjected that because I'm interested in masking.
But the Middle East, these.
So isn't it interesting? I don't know if I'm going to continue it, but isn't it interesting? All that's happening right now, where? Right now in the world. Where's the center of attention? Right now, in the middle of the Great Awakening, the transformation right now, where has all the energy been put into? Iran. Have you noticed that? Okay, that has been the hub of this group, the Levant, okay? It's in the Levant. That has been the hub of this group from the beginning. From the beginning. She even talks about here in a minute, she talks about the red hair people, the red-haired race. That's Edom. I laid that out in the God Eaters. A red-haired race. And she goes and talks about all of it. She goes into all of it.
Italians, all of Eurasia, we know now from DNA studies done over the last 5 years, especially by Russia. Okay. All of Eurasia was settled by Central Asians.
Please talk a little bit about the DNA studies. And I assume that these studies are coming out of the Human Genome Project, right?
No, they wouldn't be coming out of the Human Genome Project, which is American. They're coming out of Russian scientific research.
All right. Because this DNA, from our conversations, this DNA research provides the scientific backing that helps support this hypothesis or this theory in the making.
It's right there, folks.
It's irrefutable. It's ironclad. And
there you
I think this is probably the most important development in this type of research. It's hard science. It's not fantasy. It's supported by definitive DNA analysis, and you can trace the distribution of these different peoples, these different tribal groups, and how their culture and their religious practices migrated across the world, and how they have been transmitted to us down here to 2016 are embodied in people like Linda P.B. Katehi.
There you go. There you go. I mean, I laid everything, all this out to you. I laid all this out to you.
And so these ancient Iranian tribes moved into Europe and the Middle East. So the Basques are ancient Iranian bloodlines.
Is there a DNA?
Yes, from
report?
the DNA.
Okay.
Yes. The Berbers in North Africa, in the Altai Mountains, the Basques, the Berbers, and the Kurds all came from the Hittites.
And there's DNA research on that?
Yes, this is from DNA research, and also language.
Ancient Canaanites, folks. Ancient Canaanites. I've laid it all out.
Similarities.
All right.
And there it is. Power structures. That's what those obelisks are. Okay, so check this one out. I want you guys to see this. So this is a Hegelian dialectic. So right there, examples of the principles of paradox. Now, this is one of the ways you capture societies through these very large psychological concepts. So we have the synthesis at the top, which is the Habsburg Empire, the Catholic Church, European Union, the world solidarity of the Catholic Church, and the Jesuits, which we all know are the military arm of the Catholic Church, the Anglo-American world government. This is what is spawned out of the thesis. There's a missing H there in this slide. That should say THESIS. And the thesis then is the nationality, small states, Bolshevism, theory of Lap, and Hungarian relations, and later the Finn-Ugric theory, which is language theory, that all of the language came from one single source. And then this theory of Lap is that all of the, I think it's the Caucasian and Mongolian races came out of one person. So the theory is that you have a singular society that is opposed to the antithesis, this other side, your national principles, national socialism, far right wing, heightened Eastern, Asian, Hungarian relations, Eastern lodges, and so forth. And these fight against one another incessantly over time. And then you blackmail and buy off the Middle and European, Eastern Europe, like we know they did. And this is what you get. You get the controllers who are running the whole thing. They are instigating the red side. They're instigating the left side, creating the middle, which then puts them as the crown authority at the top. This is the deeper stuff that's happening right now in society. Okay, and then here, the principle paradox. Now follow. Here it is written out. The sophisticated principle of the practice of using opposite social poles. Okay, think about opposite social poles. Remember how the universe works in polarity. So they're advantaging the natural way that the universe works for their advantage, not for the advantage of nature, development, and the betterment of society. No, for their own development, their own benefit. This is how you see it's pure evil. It's not for the betterment of all creation and nature. It's for the betterment of their own sect. Got it? The practice of using opposite social poles intentionally probably took place first time in ancient Rome, which would remain in Catholicism. Again, completely substantiating what I've been saying for a while. And with the mediation of Venice, Netherlands, England, it survived till the modern ages. The description of its principles can be found in Jesuit literature just as well as in British ones, which implies that it was put into practice after a certain date in occult circles of both Jesuitism and Freemasonry, which also implies their background alliance: New World Order, New Rome, Anglo-American Catholic World Empire. On the left, a cult diagram from the Jesuit image. I'm not going to try to read that. From the Jesuit image. On the right is the Masonic occult diagram of the $1 bill. See, and you can start to see how all this stuff is linked. And a reason why I showed you that was so that you could understand we are in the process right now of what I just described and what she just described being taken apart. And by knowing what you now know from what she said, you can understand why it's very hard to do. Because that group is not going to go down any other way but swinging. Okay, and that's what you're seeing right now. They're swinging as they're being destroyed by the development of the society. And this is why you're seeing financial changes, regulation changes, exposure of false judges, exposure of false institutions. You are seeing that happen, and that is happening because we are in the transition. This hasn't happened in, like she said, 14,000 years, because this group has been running the world for that long, if not longer. This is why you are seeing. Do you really think the Southern Poverty Law Center would be being exposed if we had the other person that ran for presidency as president right now? No. Right? You would be seeing the continued agenda of the destruction of people and taking away the rights and so on and so forth. This is how, through objectivity, reason, rationality, you can begin to take apart the lies that the general consensus, the media, the professors, the controllers promulgate from the truth, which is your natural, authentic self, the natural, authentic sense, the reason, the imagination that was put into you, that you were born with, not put into you, but you developed, you were born with. And that, because again, imagination, the power of the mind and the ideas and putting those into place, you can see how those are going to overcome and override the powers that have attempted to use fear and force to control the world. And it's been successful, but it's not going to be successful anymore when people awaken. You can't put fear and desire into people who see past the con of fear and desire. So they don't fall for that anymore. And this is why we do what we do, because we're spreading this consciousness, higher consciousness, awareness, which frees everyone from the egregores, the lies of the authorities. That's the sibilance of what I'm doing. That's why I do this weekly, and I meet with the group weekly, is to try and generate a sibilance, a reasonability, an objectivity, so that we're not caught in the surface glare, the egregores, the ideas, the pretty and nasty pictures put in front of you, so you don't see the real picture, so you don't see the truth, and you get caught up in syndromes, identity complex, so that you don't ever realize who you are, realize what the world really is, and transcend the ideas, the assumptions, the programming put into you. That's the only way the world is going to change. That's the only way. We have to imagine a different world. Okay, so that leads us right into Zen. But before we go into Zen, we're going to skip Campbell Knight because I'm not going to have enough time. But before we get there, let's go to see what's happening in comments. I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm right at the bottom. This was the last thing that was just posted. Yeah, it's all part of the play. Don't get caught in the play-by-play of the overall game. Understand it's a media game that's being played. And the reason for that is so that we leave the magic trick called the egregore, called the idea of fallen world, fallen people, sinners, this whole thing, the negativity, right? And so we have to escape that, and we escape that through seeing a deeper sense. Are you not following, love? Tell me what you don't follow, and I'll be happy to open it up. Yes, we are. Yes, false optics. Yes, all the time. Yes, it will. I agree. Yeah, see, these are all this kind of thing that happens, right? They're all egregores. Yes, by release, Lisa. By release. This is why letting go of the ideas in your mind is such a good practice in meditation. That's why meditation is a practice that you take on as sort of a daily routine. And it is through practicing, like learning to play the piano. You practice every day, and you keep that up. You keep doing it every day, and you generate a higher vibration, an understanding of the piano that is unavailable to you any other way. And it's the same thing with meditation. You are not going to see the world any other way but by leaving the world that you are seeing now. So in order to see a different world, you have to leave. Do you see? You have to consistently leave the world that you're always in. And this is why meditation, Zen, the Tao, is all about release, letting go of the assumptions, letting go of the egregores that you have always believed that have kept you from seeing the beauty, the purity of the world as it is. And it's hard to see it when you're caught in lies and assumptions. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else. Let's see here. Good. Good word. Thank you. Lost stuff. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Truth. Change comes from perspective, not decisions. You know, that's why if I'm a drug addict, I can't change just by deciding one day, okay, I'm just not going to take drugs anymore. It doesn't work that way. The perspective has to change. Then you will have the motivation and inspiration to change. But until you change your perspective, you're still going to only see the world that you're addicted to. The addict has to leave, and the way the addict leaves is by changing what they have always, quote unquote, known to be true. You see? Yeah. And so meditation, by practicing it daily or consistently, you see, you work that muscle and you learn without having to try to let go, to change your perspective, to be willing to be tolerant and allow yourself to learn, allow yourself to see past the assumptions and the truths, quote unquote, put into you by the authorities. And the only way you're going to do that is by choosing, here it is, choosing to go to a space of opportunity. Your choice is there. The actual change, the actual perspective doesn't happen from choice, right? It happens from change of perspective. Change your location, change your go-to, change your routine. That's when you're going to get the transformation. But it's not going to come out of the space of just saying, well, I'm going to transform today. Do you see? Change is a part of it, or choice is a part of it in the sense of I'm going to choose to put myself in a different place of opportunity. Okay, you can choose that, but that doesn't mean you change. That just means you're changing your opportunity. And if you do change, awesome. That'll come from your perspective. Make sense? Yeah, this is important. This is important. You, without knowing it, here's a way to see something more clearly. When you're a doomer and you keep regurgitating the tribulation story and we've all got to be saved by God and someone's going to have to come here and rescue us kind of idea, right? When you do that and you promote that into the society, what you're doing is you're putting that low energy into the society. You're putting into the society this negative, hey, a cataclysm's coming, you're all going to die, right? We're doomed. I mean, we have to follow the laws of this book and what it says, right? We have to do that. And it says that, only the chosen ones, only the ones that choose correctly and the ones that are on the farm, only those people get saved. You see, that's putting negativity, separation, alienation, doom, gloom into the society. And this could be coming from a person who thinks they're doing the right thing, who thinks they're educating people and this is better for them. No, because you're locking them into ideas of self-destruction, world destruction. And if they imagine this and believe this to be true, it will come true. It will come true. And the world becomes what you believe. So when I spread in doom and gloom and thousands of people believe it, if I do that, I am spreading doom and gloom and I am increasing the negative energy. This is how the people who think they're doing a good service to the society by, constantly bombarding them with bad information, negative information, where in fact they are actually harming the very society they think that they're attempting to help. And this is when you get into sort of the double agents, the ones that claim to be serving the will of the people, but they're actually serving the will of the controllers. And you can often find this by chasing the ones that are most angry, the most reactive, the ones that are constantly losing it. Those are the ones that typically are not in their center. And because they're not acting from a place of peace, they're not motivating from a place of peace, you see that they are like that by their behavior, by their constantly losing their temper, yelling, red-faced craziness, right? That shows you right on the front end, this person is not in their center. They're flying off the handle. Now, there's nothing wrong with every once in a while having a moment of righteous indignation. There's nothing wrong with having that. But when you're living in that daily and you're going over that kind of thing daily, see, you're not only generating it yourself, but you're generating in the people. And that is not appropriate. That does not lead to the awakening of people. That leads to more fear. That leads to more doom, feeling of loss and lack. You see, you got to go a little deeper. What are my thoughts on where it will take us? Where this great awakening will take us? As the divide between those who are awake and asleep is so deep, we simply cannot coexist in the new paradigm with them anymore. Yeah, and that's the tragedy, Jay. That's the tragedy. The Great Awakening, here, listen, the Great Awakening isn't for everyone. This is the really the tough part. It's sort of like a person who just simply can't stop themselves from committing crimes. Say they're a kleptomaniac. They can't stop stealing. They can't stop stealing. They keep stealing. They go to prison and they come back. They steal again. They keep engaging in this constant recidivism, right? The constant negative behavior. Okay, they're gonna die that way. They're gonna die in prison. Nature's merciless, and if you're gonna choose to stay in negativity, you're going to wake up in the day and be reviewing these negative tapes every day. You're going to wake up every day and go out and steal from others, taking from others, and you just won't stop. You will never awaken. You will never realize the place of peace because you refuse to change your behavior. And until you're willing to change your behavior, change your thoughts, change your attitude, change your perspective, until you're willing to do that, you're going to stay there. And that's the way it's going to be for the Great Awakening. And there's going to be enormous populations of people that simply refuse to change. And they're going to die off because they're not transcending. It's like if you were a group of people that refuse to develop technologically, you refuse to develop in your understanding of the world, and you just wanted to stay in an existence that's, 1,000 or 2,000 years old, and you just refuse to move past that. That's where you're going to stay. And the Great Awakening will happen, and people will have these epiphanies and will grow and become. And if you refuse to change your perspective and refuse to leave your negative environment or your stagnant environment, you get what you deserve. You get what you believe. Nature delivers on the money every time. And if that's where you're going to be, that's where you're going to stay. And it will delay. It will drag this out as they think of like the story of the Israelites in the desert. And you had that one group of people in the story that went against God, and so 40 years had to pass so that generation had to die off in order for the generation that didn't engage in that activity for them to move forward. And that idea is the similar idea as what it is in the Great Awakening. We've been wandering in a desert called materialism, called greed, called dominator culture. And we've been wandering in that desert for 2,000 years since the Catholic Church put it on everybody that was the case. And so we've stayed there. Like I said, we stayed stagnant. We haven't developed. People have not developed. They're staying in these old concepts that are in this book. They've refused to leave. Even the current quote unquote cataclysm that's happening right now. They're putting it into the Bible and saying, well, this is the Bible. This is the Bible coming true. Look. They refuse to develop out of that. And that's called fear. That's called desire. They don't want any other world but what the Bible describes. It's the same thing as the person that doesn't want an awakening without Allah at the head of the awakening. And unless Allah is the head of the awakening, they're not interested in the Great Awakening. Fanatics are like that. And it will slow, to answer your question, Jay, it's going to slow our progress down. That's why what I'm doing on Saturdays, what I do on Zoom is so important, because there's not a lot of people in this world that understand what has happened, why we're here, but haven't subscribed to the doomer concept and have this understanding, this clarity of, well, this is just how we emerge. There's not a lot of people that can be that lucid about it. A lot of people get caught up in the TDS syndromes, in all of the egregores and all of the lies. And they're totally in that foment. They just foment it every day. Their frustration, their anger, they're communicating that with their friends and all this kind of stuff. They're staying there. They're promoting it. And so what I do on Saturdays, and now what's going to be Sunday Zoom, is to try and be a light of reason, imagination, and responsibility, self-responsibility to the public. To try and be that, because it's all of you, not just me, but all of you, all of us that must shine for there to be change. Must. Because we initiate the awakening, the human collective. It's about, here it is, the Great Awakening is about the human collective, the emergence of the human collective. All of this that's happening is about that, so that we move into the space of emergence with our own initiation, with our own ideas, our own concepts, not concepts of the authority, not concepts handed down to us by the controllers. No. The collective unconscious, the deeper truth and sense inside the collective. That's where we're going. Do you have a big enough imagination? Do you have a big enough heart to walk into that space? Do you have enough courage, friend? Honestly, I'm not saying these to be degradative. Really, do you have the courage? Do you? To go against the grain, to become a cynic, an iconoclast, and no longer believe what you've been told? Do you have that kind of courage? That's really what determines the Great Awakening, in case you didn't know. It's based on the courage, the forthrightness, the honesty, the integrity of the population, the highest vibrations that come out of a human being: compassion, love, integrity, care, honesty, authenticity. These are the highest vibrations. That is what is going to bring the Great Awakening to you. And if I'm a fanatic, how much imagination do I have? How much authenticity am I offering the world if I'm just a fanatic parroting what I've been told? How much true humanness is coming out of me if all I'm doing is just regurgitating these political and religious agendas? Do you see the blasphemy in that, being a nature creature? They're getting nature creatures to become the agenda for their social institution. They're turning nature creatures into social creatures, which is inhumane. So the Great Awakening is the transformation from this idea that people are social creatures and people believing that they're social creatures. The Great Awakening is realizing, no, we're all nature creatures. We're in a nature world. We're not in a social world. We're not in a social construct. That's not where we're at. We're nature creatures in a nature world. We're in a wonder. We're epiphanies in a wonder. In case you're wondering what's going on, that's what's going on. And we're stuck in these low concepts because everybody's bought the ideas, the egregores from the controllers, who don't want you thinking for yourself, who don't want you using your imagination, who don't want you awakened and aware and happy and growing and positive and emergent and free of stress, free of anxiety, free of fear. Controllers don't want you in any of those spaces. Only someone that loves you wants you in that space. Only someone that cares about you wants you in that space. See, and this is how you know they don't care and they don't love you. Again, practical, common sense, clarity, and objectivity is what is going to free you, friend. Certainly learning some history, certainly learning some events is going to help you out. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's your perspective that's going to free you. Not a book, not a person, not a word, not a movie. Perspective. And so everyone has to see past the fear-riddled world that we've been raised in. Yeah? Now I want you guys to see something. Make sure everything's cool. You guys are getting it. Look at this that I found the other day. Look at this. I want to show you guys something. This is so cool. Okay, here, go back. I found this the other night. I was watching this movie here. I want to show you. You guys are going to freak about this. So I was watching this. This was literally last night. And I saw something that blew my mind. And some of you guys are going to see this and you're going to take your breath in. Okay, so this is the movie. There's no agenda here. I found this link from an F1 site who was studying the combustion principles of an internal combustion engine. And so they were looking at the efficiency of fuel burning. That's where all this came from. They were looking at the efficiency of fuel burning and how jet turbines today, 90% of the air taken in by the turboprop go around the engine and only 10% are used for the actual fuel to save in efficiency. So they were studying this. So in the midst of this study, they talked about how in the invention of the electron microscope, they looked at the actual assembly of the metal atoms that compose a material. Because in order to get a turbine engine to run properly, your fan, your compressor blades that are down in the meat of the engine, I'll show you right here. The little ones The little ones, these small ones, not the big ones there on the left, but the little ones here. These are the compressor that push air and compress it. And when you compress air, it builds heat. And so in the jet engine, they were looking at the metal that it took to be able to generate enough heat, because the more heat, the more efficiency you're going to get. And they wanted to increase the strength of the metal so that it didn't melt and fall apart when they put more and more pressure into the turbine. So they're looking at the molecular structure itself. You guys are not going to freaking believe this. I saw this last night, and it looked like this. Some of you guys are going to catch this quick. Some of you won't. It looked like this. This is what the actual atoms assemble themselves as. This is what it looks like. Here again. Do you guys see what I saw? Do you guys see it? I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to go to chat. Do you guys see what I see? Here, new comments. Now look here. Look at the picture again. Look. What does that remind you of? This is the actual assembly of the molecules themselves that compose the metal that make a turbofan blade so that it can burn at a higher rate. See, when they found this pattern, they found that when the molecules went into this pattern, when they melted beryllium, cobalt, and aluminum into the iron, it formed this structure. Got it right there. You got it. You got it. 9 millimeter. Oh, look who got it. High verbal. 9 millimeter. Nicely done. Nicely done. Now look. Bam. 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 Do you see? You got it, Jay. Now, this is what I want you to get. That then means, do you guys know those walls? They don't collapse. They've been through multiple floods. Like, they can't even freaking date these things. They've been around for so long. Okay, now look at how the wall assembled itself when they put these stones together. They say they went into like a marshmallow shape and they self-assembled. Okay, look at the patterns. They're identical. This means that the people that constructed those walls, guess what they knew? They knew that when you assemble molecules into this shape, which naturally happened when they studied the mixture of cobalt, beryllium, iron, and aluminum to make jet engine blade fans. They knew this. And when they made the turbofans like this, they were able to double the amount of heat that they were able to take to make a turbine fan. And I just wanted to show you guys that this isn't coincidence. The people that assembled these walls, or whoever did, the aliens, or whoever assembled these walls, they knew down to the molecular structure of this planet how molecules assembled in this gravity state, in this atmosphere, with these periodic table elements. They knew if we combine these rocks in this way, at this temperature, in this state, or whatever, they'll self-assemble just like the metal self-assembles when you mix it in the furnace to forge, to make the metal that's going to build these turbofan blades. Isn't it incredible? The same molecular structure is used. Isn't that just mind-boggling? Totally, totally unbelievable. I just came across that last night. I just wanted you guys to see that. Okay. Let's get into Zen. Now, I have to do my announcements. Okay, first of all, the Swindoll Shindig is on the 18th. We're going to do it. So anyone that wants to come, here's the thing. If you want to go, there's not going to be that many people that go. It's going to be a little family gathering. Okay, so there's probably going to be 20 or less of us. If you want to go, shoot me an email. Just say, Chuck, I want to go, or I'm going to go. I'm from New York, and this is when we're going to be there, whatever. And I will help organize the whole thing. Meaning I will help facilitate whatever is happening, what you need to get here. Because there's not going to be that many people here. So it's something that I can handle. I just want to help people be able to make it. I can't give you money and do a fundraiser. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you're going to come, you've made plans to come, and you just need some help getting here, get me involved. Shoot me an email and say, hey, Chuck, I want to go. And let me see if I can help. Because I want to help facilitate, the folks coming to this. So just contact me right there where it says, if you're coming or you want to come, write me. Contact chuckjr@yahoo.com, and I'll help to facilitate if I can. And then there are Airbnbs and so forth locally. because you're going to want to be able to stay overnight, because it's going to be a Saturday evening gig. I'm going to be offering my testimony, and I'm going to be meeting with everyone. So I just wanted you to know, I want to help you if I can. And then I also wanted you to know these Telegram and Discord sites are run by very loving, caring people, and you can access those sites. I just don't have the time to go there, but the people that are there are very loving and caring, and they are having conversations that are helpful to people. My website launch is tentative right now, somewhere between May 16 and June 1. And that's going to offer everyone easier access to all my videos. I'm going to be making 2 videos that are not going to be released into the public. One is an interview, and another one is a car conversation about loneliness. So I'm going to be covering those over the next few weeks, and those will be available when the website opens, and they won't be available to the public. And I'm going to be consistently doing that. I'm going to be offering videos to you guys who are in the membership that the public will never see. It's one of the benefits of being a member. And then it's also going to allow you to attend Zoom. So if you like to attend Zoom, a part of the membership will be being able to access the Zoom, so that everyone, can talk to me and we can have a conversation. And then finally, I just wanted you guys to see some of the swag that I've worked on this week. Let me see here. Where'd it go? Over here. And then I'll get to comments. Don't worry. I'll get to comments. Just hang on one sec. Just want to show you guys some of the awesome shirts I've developed this week. This is all going to be on my site. Everything is 100% wrung spun cotton. And these are just some of the shirts that I've developed this week. And this is just all going to be part of my swag line to help support the work that I'm doing. This is a way for you guys to get some awesome clothing and at the same time help me out. I even designed some ladies' tees, which look awesome. Beautiful colors, lovely stuff here. This is going to be a special edition t-shirt we're going to release. This is another one here. I'm just showing you, I've got about 25, 30 products. This is an awesome hoodie that I'm going to be offering that looks awesome. These are some of the cups I've developed, which would be great. This one on the top right, super awesome. It's black, and then as you pour hot stuff in it, it unveils the lines, asking permission, seeking approval, expecting proof, and I'm not going to obey. And then I made this really fun little onesie for kids. Look at that. I did not come here to obey. Is that fantastic? I like that one. And then I made just a nice little tote, a blanket, right? Hang on the wall or whatever. I got bumper stickers coming up. In case you guys want some bumper stickers, I got some wall posters I developed for you guys. And check it out, deck of cards. How sweet is that? Yeah, man. Okay. So that's coming. That's going to be on the website, and that'll be a way for you guys to support my work and also get some really cool clothes. And I'll be developing t-shirts over time to continue this thing going, because the only way this works is by support. So good deal. Now, let's go to comments, and then I'm going to go into Zen. Do you guys have any questions, or are we rolling? Thanks so much. I'm glad you dig it, Maria. They're great clothes. I mean, they're awesome. I'm gonna buy them myself. I've got a bunch coming. I'm gonna be buying it. It looks awesome. Thank you, Mr. Logic Muse. You're so sweet, love. Thank you so much. Would love the support. Awesome. Hey, thanks so much. I'm gonna generate another poster that's gonna be awesome. Chuck, thinking of that chart of genotypes you posted earlier, do you think after the Anunnaki engineered their version of human, there was then a cosmic gangbang on Earth from other off-worlds? Yeah, I think we have been seen by this group as like just cattle. There's no, they don't see us as valuable at all, only valuable in the sense of what can be taken out of us. We're valuable in the sense of what we carry, this light, this deeper principle, this deeper consciousness. It's the consciousness in you, that light in you, that can differentiate the world in a way that's more deep than, say, a bear, a cougar, or a lion or monkey. You can see through consciousness, higher and higher consciousness, a deeper perspective and patterns within the world that are unavailable to beings or creatures that don't have that depth of consciousness. Doesn't make them any less than, it doesn't make them any worse. It's different. And this recognition that allows us to do things like love and have compassion and empathy for others, which is that deeper sense, right? This is what they hunt. This is what those aliens are, because they don't have it. They don't have that deeper sense. They're in this idea of just consumption. There's not an inner light, an inner consciousness, an inner growing, burning inside of these creatures. That's why they try to take it from us. It's called louche to them. It's a type of spiritual food, and they feed off of that because they can't access that. They're not in that level of consciousness to love others. I don't know if you guys realize that, but love and compassion and empathy are extremely high vibrations. And if I'm a low vibrational creature that does nothing but eat and take from others, you see, I can't realize that higher vibration, in the sense that a person who is caught in a political agenda, so they're totally caught in that. They can't see a larger picture outside of that agenda because they're consumed by that agenda. It's the same thing with consciousness. These beings are a lower consciousness. They can't walk into a higher love, compassionate oriented field because they're caught in this lower frequency, in the same way a person who's caught in a religion or caught in a political system. That's a lower vibration. They can't access those higher vibrations. And this isn't anything holding. They themselves do it to themselves because they lock themselves in that lower vibration. And in the same way, these beings, creatures that don't have that, they're locked in a lower consciousness. They don't have access to it. And so it's a rush. It's an epiphany to them when they eat that out of us. Much like if you take a consciousness expanding drug, it's an epiphany. It's an experience like otherworldly. And this is what we offer. Our louche offers these hunters, these creatures. You get it? It offers them a perspective they can't access on themselves, with themselves, by themselves. We are a conduit to that God principle, love principle, compassion principle. That's the deeper motivation behind this. So we're seen simply as an access point. And that's why they engaged in procreation and engaging with intercourse with us. Because it's their desire, it's their fear, it's their wanting, yearning. You can't mistake their being more powerful in this lower vibrational sense as they're being more powerful in the higher vibrational sense. They're not on a higher vibrational sense. That's why they can't destroy us. We have to destroy ourselves. They're very powerful in the lower frequencies. And human beings that engage them in those lower frequencies feel power, get power. I mean, what do you think has been running the world? People who know how to access that lower frequency, that lower power access, that allows you to control people that haven't awakened to their higher consciousness. That's it. Yes, we are the Buddha. We are the higher consciousness. It's not a matter of evolved. It's a matter of awareness. So you could say our awareness hasn't evolved to realize our true identity, our true self. This is why Alan always asked, who are you? Because people don't realize who they are. So they don't access that higher frequency. They get caught up in the lower powerful frequencies, you see? And that kind of power is irrelevant to a high frequency being. Does that make sense? That's why you shouldn't fear death, because that's a lower frequency. You're not a being that dies, lives and dies. Do you understand that? The body does. But see, by you're getting caught up in that fear, you see, I can harness, contain, moderate, control your higher consciousness. And you don't realize that higher vibration because you stay in your own choice in the low frequencies, because you believe the egregores, you believe the lies, you believe the crap they tell you. You believe that you're a sinner. You believe that you're a dirty carbon generator. You believe that you're fallen. You believe the world is corrupt and fallen. And because you believe that, right, you don't resonate to a higher faith orientation. You're stuck in belief. You're captured in belief. You're captured in securities, which don't exist in a high frequency nature. That's why nature can seem brutal, because nature is past the low frequency concerns like death and evil and stuff like that. It's lower vibration. And the high vibration, it's on another plane. And as long as you keep yourself on this plane, on this two-dimensional, conflict-oriented plane, right, then you're going to stay there. You'll never leave. Because that's what you want. You want that. My dad does not want a great awakening without Jesus. The Muslim, the Islamic, doesn't want a great awakening without Allah. They don't want it. They're not interested. And so they don't wake. The Christian doesn't wake up. They don't realize who they are. They don't realize what the great awakening is because they're stuck in the beliefs put into them through fear and desire. They're being preyed upon. And this is what this is how the God Eaters, the KM tie into the story, tie into your consciousness, because they are the ones who've programmed you. They're the authorities. They're the winners. So you know what they told you, not what you self-discovered. And you don't engage self-discovery when you're caught up in the fears and lies of the controllers. You'll stay in the farm. You'll stay in that pseudo protection. You'll stay in that hedge of protection that Jesus gives you, that Allah gives you, that you pray for every day, that you pray for without ceasing. You stay in the farm doing stuff like that. You stay in the farm. And you stay in the farm because you won't quit. You won't leave. And that's your choice. And nature says, okay, if that's what you want, then that's what you're going to get. And you're going to stay there. And there won't be an awakening for you. What are you going to awaken to? You don't want to awaken. All you want is the old stories. All you want is the old history. All you want to do is just regurgitate what the authorities have said. That's a person who doesn't want to wake up. That's a person who doesn't want to expand. They're not interested. They're not centered in love. They're centered in conflict, picking sides. The person of love transcends this idea of picking sides. The person of love transcends this idea that there are winners and losers. They've transcended those ideas. It all works together. See? Yeah. Be the stimuli. Exactly, Hugh. You got it. Be the stimulus. Yeah. There is no death. Yeah. You simply transcend this plane. Here's the inside skinny. Are you ready, Pinky? Here's the inside skinny. Obviously, we all know this body doesn't die, or it does die, but the animating principle that animates your body, right, never dies. This animating extraction or conglomeration, right, it dies. The body dies. Absolutely, there's only one, right? There's only one expression of you, and this is it. That's why you don't look like anyone, and you never will look like anyone. Even identical twins have slight differences. Okay. So the idea of death is you simply leave this plane. Now here's the sobering moment. This is the sobering moment. You guys know that your life is based on the vibration that you put into it. So if you are an angry person and you got a chip on your shoulder and you're always got kind of a bent, that's the life you're going to have because that's the energy you're putting into the world. If you are a love person and you're centered to love and compassion and connecting to people, you will attract that. And that is the world that you will experience. Do you see? The world becomes what you believe it to be. It's on you. Makes sense? We are the awakening. We are the awakening. And so you have to realize that in order to awaken. Let's see, now what does this mean? I ought to love those who destroyed my cervical spine. No. When I say a world centered on love, that doesn't mean that you're a big pushover, that you just allow. Do you see what I'm saying? In the sense of that person's being harmed, but I'm centered in love and tolerance, so I'm not going to do anything. That person's just going to get harmed right in front of me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're the person who is so selfless that you go and save the other without ever thinking of yourself, running in front of the bus to save the child. That's the kind of love I'm talking about, the deeper sense. And until you can see the deeper sense, you're going to stay there. So to finish my thought on the death thing, when you die, your body dies, but you carry the wake of your behavior into the next reality. Why would it be otherwise? And if I've been setting a wake my whole life of resistance and anger and complaining, that's the reality, that's the energy that I carry as this body dies and I transcend to the next layer. So what is my next reality going to look like? It's going to look like the reality I'm forming now, because we grow. That's what happens. And if you don't grow and you stay stagnant, that's what you're going to experience in the next reality. So you will come back, you will re-materialize in the same energy you're carrying now, because that's the energy you're taking on. And you simply carry that after life. And so these people, let's say like you're a criminal, hateful person, you murder people and harm children. Okay, let's say like that's what you do. Okay, when you die, that energy then moves right into whatever you attract to become the next being that you're going to be. So if you are acting as an attractor of hate and malice and revenge and all these kind of things, that's what you're going to attract when you die. And you're going to become a manifestation of that negative energy, whatever that is. Whereas if you die centered in love, caring for others, showing compassion, sacrificing for others, and so on and so forth, do you see? You then carry that energy into death. And you will resonate, you will bring those energies to yourself. So whatever you emerge as in the next reality will be the resonance that you carried in this one. I'm convinced that that's what happened to me. And I am absolutely convinced that I was a horrendously terrible person in the life before this one, because my life has been teaching. The main way that I have learned in this life is through humiliation rituals. Some people learn through some kind of abuse. Some people learn through just bad luck. Some people learn the hard or the easy way. For me, for whatever the case may be, I've learned through repeated humiliation rituals, betrayal of others, promises made by others that then destroyed my life. And it's a humiliation of me because I didn't see that they were the way that they were. I didn't see their behavior. So I'm getting this energy that I didn't see and I wasn't aware of, and it has basically destroyed my life through humiliation. And so in order for me to grow, I had to be repeatedly humiliated in this life by the people I most loved and by the people that claimed to love me most. I had to have that repeatedly happen to me in order to break out of the spell that I was in, which was this idea that I believe in a religion and I do as told and I obey and I follow orders. And if I do that, I'm a good person and therefore I transcend, which is a very low frequency concept of myself. And so I had to be humiliated repeatedly within that world that I assumed was the world, the way that it was, in order to see past that world, to say, this is repeatedly happening to me time and time again, decade after decade. Why is this continuing to happen? And what I realized was it's because I'm not changing my thought. I'm not changing my perspective of how I see and assume the world. And so I'm going to continually be hammered because I refuse to grow. And the humiliation rituals that I went through were so horrific. The only thing I can think of is I carried that energy from, I must have been doing that to other people in my past life because I didn't merit this. It happened to me to break my mind. I didn't merit the humiliation. It came from friends and people who said that they loved me. Do you see? And so that is something that I haven't merited in this life because I've been a kind, loving person to these people. Why would they do that to me? It's because I had lessons to learn from my past life that I never would have learned following orders in this one. Bigger concept. And so then I'm able to understand then, okay, then I now see my lessons that I went through, the humiliation and betrayal of others. I now see that as lessons. And when you can see them as lessons, this is how you transform what they're teaching. It's like when you can see cancer as a friend, you transform its impression on you. When you see it as something that is teaching you, you no longer hate it. And by no longer hating it, it no longer controls you. And therefore, you can take ownership, essentially, of your life through love and acceptance. And learning, this disease is teaching me a lesson. I'm going to be thankful for that disease. I certainly don't want it again, but I'm going to be thankful for it. And this is how you transform the humiliation rituals, the abuse you went through, is seeing that those things taught me lessons I had to learn, and I couldn't have learned them any other way but through whatever happened to me. And this way you transform the evil that was done to you purposely. Like these people harmed you. You transform that into your own self-development and growth, and seeing past those people in abuse by seeing why they were abusing you, why they did those things. And by seeing why they did those things, you transform, you transcend the punishment and abuse that they put you through. And it doesn't control you with anger, resentment, and fear and hatred. You transform it into love because it's your growth. It's what made you who you are. It's what gave you the resilience that you have. It's what gave you the unconditional love that you render to others, because you had to unconditionally love yourself to get out of that abuse syndrome, to get out of that humiliation ritual, because staying in fear, hatred, and all that kind of stuff is going to keep you in the ritual. It's going to keep you bound down with hatred, malice, and revenge you want for those that harmed you. And in order, the only way to transcend that is to see those as basically teachers that taught you the essential lessons you needed to learn in order to grow in your consciousness and reach a higher plane than your abuser. Reach a higher plane than the one who humiliated you and used your love against you. And by transcending, you see, you transcend the abuse, and you don't become an abuser yourself. I become an abuser when I stay in the hate, when I stay in the revenge idea. I become that because I'm not releasing. That's my fault. If I'm still angry about stuff that happened in my 20s as a 50-year-old, I'm the problem. Even if it wasn't my fault, I'm the problem because I'm hanging onto it. I'm generating low frequency. I'm staying in the low energy, keeping that chip on my shoulder, continuing to complain about my life, continuing to harm others and take from them and use them and ask of them. You know, I'm the one, I'm the vacuum. That's why I'm doing that. I am caught up in my own hatred as a result of what was done to me. The deeper psychology will free you. And this is exactly what we have to do in the Great Awakening. We have to see past our abusers, the ones that have been advantaging us, and leave this space of trying and wanting to get revenge, and simply transcend their lies. Dissolve them simply by moving to a higher and higher and higher vibration and existence as a collective. They become moot points. In the same way, my cancer in my past becomes a moot point because I integrated it as a friend to teach me. It's now no longer an issue. I'm not even angry about getting cancer. Don't even care. It was a teacher. We need to get that way about what has happened to us for the last 2,000 years and realize, hey, we know it now. We're learning from it. We know now why they did it. We now know our weaknesses. We're prone to Hegelian dialectics. We're prone to red herrings. We're prone to belief over faith. Right? We're prone to this as human beings. You transcend that by expanding your consciousness. Makes sense? Shall we get into some Zen? Yeah. Exactly. Change the world by changing your perspective. Who's angry? I'm not angry. Not angry at all. Anything? Yes, Dolores Cannon is very good. Oh, where did it go? Here. She's very good. She's very helpful. She's very helpful. Shall we go on to Zen? Yes? It's not that they dislike all the children. It's just that the ones that have stuff like blonde hair and blue eyes, red hair and blue eyes, these unusual combinations, those kids carry a particular kind of energy from their genetic heritage. and they want to take that. So there are special rituals that they do for children that are blonde hair and blue eyes. There are special rituals that they do for children that are red hair and green eyes. And those children, those people generate a certain type of energy that they eat. And so they're wanted. They're like commodities. It would be like you're hunting for 24 karat gold and you find some 17 karat and you find some 14 karat. And every once in a while, you'll find maybe a 24 karat nugget. It's like that. And if that 24 karat nugget is worth more than the 17, the 14, whatever, the lower grades. And it's the same thing with human beings and children. It's the same idea. And there are different grades. And the more powerful the grade of child, the more powerful the evil energy you can attract in your ritual. So the special kids are given special ceremonies. And I one time read what the ceremony is for a blonde-haired, blue-eyed child, and I can't even repeat it on the internet. It's so messed up. Okay. Are we good? Yeah. See, all of these are genetic markers, and they render the energy, because it's the energy inside of you that builds your body. I mean, that's what builds your body in mama's womb, is that light, that animating factor that is in you. Okay. And so that builds your body. Well, it builds your body through the genetics that are in mom and dad. And we know that genetics have enormous determinations of a person. I mean, your intelligence, your level of imagination, your drives, your what initiate you to action are different for everyone. Okay. And so it's the same thing with Loosh. Every individual has their own Loosh, their own vibration that they're bringing into the picture. And apparently the kids that have these blonde and red hairs and so forth, they have a type of energy that is very attractive to these people. I don't know why exactly, but it's a type of energy that's very attractive to them. And so they do everything in their power in the ritual to extract all the Loosh they can from that being, which is why they have those special ceremonies. Okay. Yeah, my wife was strawberry blonde as a child. Yeah, okay, let's get to some Zen. Media assets. You are watching Zen, week 27, believe it or not. And I'm going to get started here. We have some very big concepts today, and this is why I gave up on trying to cover Joseph Campbell today, because there's just simply no way. It's already 6:45. We have about an hour left, and I'm not even sure I'm going to get through all of these slides. But I have enjoyed our introduction. I've enjoyed the conversation with you guys. Now let's do some reading together. We are on chapter 3. Page 154. Please feel free to read along in your own copy. Zazen and the koan. There is a saying in Zen that original realization is marvelous practice. The meaning is that no distinction is to be made between the realization of awakening, satori, and the cultivation of Zen in meditation and action. Understand what they're saying here, what he's saying here. There is no differentiation. You are a Buddha. You are already awakened within. It's simply a matter of this thing realizing it. So you're already there. This is what it's saying in this first section. You're already the Buddha. It's simply realizing it. You're already consciousness. You're already pure consciousness. You already are. It's simply perspective. And so the idea of Zen, meditation, the Tao, is to begin to bring this thing, meaning your mind, into accord, into an understanding of the that which is no that inside of you. And that's hard to do. Okay? But until you realize that, you see, you're going to be a slave to your mind's ideas of that. You're not moving from that, right? You're moving from this. Until you move from this, the heart, you see, it's going to be hard to keep your behavior appropriate because you're thinking about it. Behavior from the heart, motivation from the heart, the pure, loving kindness, humanness within you, this will always burgeon appropriate behavior because the mind isn't involved. It's when your mind gets between the heart and action, that's when you're in trouble. When you're thinking about it, that's when you're in trouble. So it's saying already, you're the Buddha. Whereas it might be supposed that the practice of Zen is a means to the end of awakening. This is not so. For the practice of Zen is not the true practice so long as it has an end in view. And you guys have heard me say that. And when it has no end in view, it is awakening the aimless, self-sufficient life of the eternal now. To practice with an end in view, is to have one eye on the practice and the other on the end, which is lack of concentration, lack of sincerity. To put it another way, one does not practice Zen to become a Buddha. One practices it because one is a Buddha from the beginning. And this original realization is the starting point of the Zen life. Right again, just above there where it says, for the practice of Zen is not the true practice so long as it has an end in view. And this follows right along with what I've been telling you guys, teaching you guys, that you're not trying to get anywhere with Zen. It's just like dancing. You're not trying to get anywhere. When the couple starts dancing on the stage, their goal isn't, okay, we're going to get to that side of the stage, the left side of the stage, okay, by the end of this routine. We're going to get there. No, they go out and they dance. They just hear the music and they dance. Okay, there's no point. That's the point. And it's the same thing with you. There's no point in life. It's simply to experience it. The experience is the point. The journey is the point. Okay, so if you get caught up in the idea of you're headed somewhere, like there's a goal in mind, you got to get there. You got to get to the promised land. You got to get in the book of life, right? You got this destination you're headed for, right? That keeps you locked down. You're not free. Okay, so do not allow concepts to hinder your development and growth because you're already there. It's just a matter of seeing it in order to realize the growth. Now listen how far they'll take it. To practice with an end view is to have one eye on the practice and the other on the end, which is the lack of concentration. It's something interesting right here, a lack of sincerity. Isn't that interesting? A lack of sincerity. The person who is approaching life from a conflict-oriented, side-picking vantage, right, is right there, has a lack of sincerity. Right? You have a lack of sincerity because you're not taking the world for what it is. You're putting your ideas upon it. You're not accepting it for what it is. So you're not really being sincere here. You're just putting on a thing. You're being inauthentic. You're putting your ideas upon it. You can't be serious. Right? And you can't be serious because you don't realize what you're doing. In the same way, if I try and make my wife be a certain way or act a certain way that I want her to, I'm not taking the relationship seriously and I'm not loving her, right? I'm treating it as a joke because I'm trying to get it the way I want, which shows no love to her and it's total self-consumption for me. I'm not being sincere, right? You see, and when you behave like that, you see the world becomes a plaything. It's no longer taken sincerely. It's taken as a joke. Do you follow? Do you follow? Lack of sincerity. Put it another way, one does not practice Zen to become a Buddha. One practices it because one is a Buddha from the beginning. And this original realization is the starting point of the Zen life. Original realization is the body and the marvelous practice, the use, and the two correspond respectively to prajna, wisdom, remember cutting away the fat, and karuna, the compassionate activity of the awakened bodhisattva in the world of birth and death. Now here, skip to the next one here where it's in red in the middle. Yet it should be obvious that action without wisdom, without clear awareness of the world as it really is, can never improve anything. Isn't that an interesting concept? You can't improve. This is the idea of there's no development in 2,000 years of spirituality for the world. See, it hasn't improved. It hasn't developed because look at it says right here, because there's a clear awareness of the world as it really is. And so it can't be improved. And this is why the world hasn't improved. It's been spiritually locked down in these small, lower concepts that are oriented to conflict and choosing sides and picking a winner, right? And it's the person who's transcended that, right, that is going to move past that. In other words, right here, furthermore, as muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone, it could be argued that those who sit quietly and do nothing are making one of the best contributions to the world in turmoil. And this This is the picture of the person. If you're better off, instead of being a doom and gloom person and putting all this negative energy into the world, you're better off just staying quiet. You're better and just working on yourself, just working on your own development. Because if all you can do is offer the world lack, offer the world a position of like, look, you're a sinner, you're fallen from God. That's the way it is, pal. And until you believe like me and all these people that are involved in my work, like you're lost. You're putting negative energy into the world, ultimatum, fear, threat, right? You're doing it. You're doing it. And it's here to show you that until you see the world differently than that, it's going to stay the way that it is. It's going to stay muddy. Let's jump down here to where it says the relevance of Zazen. The relevance of Zazen to Zen is obvious when it is remembered that Zen is seeing reality directly in its suchness, to see the world as it is concretely, undivided by categories and abstractions. One must certainly look at it with a mind which is not thinking, which is to say, forming symbols about it. Zazen is not, therefore, sitting with a blank mind, which excludes all the impressions of the inner and outer senses. It is not concentration in the usual sense of restricting the attention to a single sense object, such as a point of light or the tip of one's nose. It is simply a quiet awareness without comment of whatever happens to be here and now. This is that being in the rapids and being with the rapids, being aware of that, doing your best to stay alive, stay afloat, and so forth. But you're all there, fully present and accepting the rapids for what they are. You're not trying to make them different. You're rolling along with them. This awareness is attended by the most vivid sensation of non-difference between oneself and the external world, between the mind and its contents, the various sounds, sights, and other impressions of the surrounding environment. And naturally, this sensation does not arise by trying to acquire it. It just comes by itself when one is sitting and watching without purpose in mind, even the purpose of getting rid of purpose. You see? Get your mind out of it. So the key talking points in Zen, there is no distinction between awakening and cultivation. One is always awakened. It's simply realizing it cognitively. Action without wisdom improves nothing. A blank mind in the Zen sense is quiet awareness without comment. And nature is honored when observed without presuppositions. And you're the same way because you're a nature creature. You don't want anybody putting any presuppositions on you, right? You want to be treated and seen for what you are. For who you are and the authenticity you put into the world. You see, you're a nature creature. That's why you're like that. Authenticity, right? And if you fill your life with a world of presuppositions, the world, your life will never be authentic. Here we are. Unity of awakening and action. The Zen saying that original realization is marvelous practice, page 154. Explains that there is no distinction between Satori and the cultivation of Zen in meditation or daily life. Practice is not a means to an end, and to treat it as such is to lack the sincerity necessary to grow. Splitting attention between the act and the goal, you see, this is looking for the fruits. The practices Zen, one practices Zen because one is already Buddha from the beginning, and this realization is the body. The marvelous practice in use corresponding to prajna, direct insight, and karuna, compassion and mercy. The insistence is that one must think of only this day and this hour without aiming at Satori or avoiding birth and death. You are primarily Buddhas, you are primarily Buddhas with not an iota of a thing to be called error. That's a key line. The Buddhist considers, the Zen considers the individual to be completely pure, there's no fault. And that the only fault, the only impurity, quote unquote, that occurs is what happens here. But that if a person loses this and is always acting from here, there's nothing to correct. There's no mistakes that will be made because the person is always acting from the intuition, and the person who has the intuition always is holding the ball. Always. It's the reactive person that is always behind the ball, right? And so if I carry the intuition, meaning I've gotten rid of this thing and I'm just working from the heart, all my decisions are correct, even the ones that lead me to discouragement, because the discouragement is going to be the teacher. In this sense, then, you can approach the world with always that idea of, I am always learning and growing. So I should not form opinions. I should not form hatred or resentment upon the world, because everything I experience is simply another lesson for me to learn. There's nothing to resist. There's no temptation to run from, none of that. It's simply everything I experience is a stepping stone to learn. And when I get into that resonation, that kind of attitude, you see, there's no regrets. There's no wishing. There's no desires, because the now is so fulfilling. It's so complete. And I can experience that when I'm not hanging on, when I'm not clinging. Because the more I cling, the more I'm bringing my garbage into the now. My hangups, my concerns, my security issues. And the more I do that, the less now I am in. And that is very unsatisfactory. Very unsatisfactory. And because of that unsatisfaction, you'll have a tendency to be tempted to go back to the other way, the dominator way, the force way, the power way, rather than the realization and perspective way, which gives you the power. Yeah? Good concept here. Good concept. Okay. That's why it's so important to think or to understand that you are here we are. You are primarily Buddhas, not with an iota of a thing to be called error, in the unborn mind, the natural original state of awareness that every human possesses from birth. Let's hold on on slide 2 there, and let's go to chat. Let's see if you guys have any questions, comments. I'm gonna go down to the bottom. I'm gonna go down to the bottom. Any questions so far? Happy to answer. Yeah. This is it's like a realization. It's not that you get a voice in your head. It's that you have a realization of perspective. So yeah, calling upon yourself is a good idea. But it's not going to be an answer in the sense that you hear. It's going to be an answer in the sense that you see. Okay, no questions. Let's keep going. Next slide. Okay. Media assets, continuing. Oh, I always do that. Sorry. Okay, here we are. Media assets, okay. Part 3, Zazen and the koan. We're still on 1 here. Unity of awakening and action. Psychologically, awakening is realizing the self is already whole. See, that's important. That's why the lack you feel being a sinner, right, keeps you from that feeling of wholeness. The ego's frantic quest for enlightenment is like a patient in analysis who compulsively over-intellectualizes that every dream must hold some kind of major life insight to be translated. I'm sure you know folks like that. Thereby postponing actual integration already present in the unconscious. This is the high-achieving executive who journals or prays nightly about becoming more mindful, yet remains perpetually dissatisfied. The tension arises not from a lack of practice or diligence, but from the ego's, here's key, the ego's refusal to recognize that the wholeness it seeks is its own ground. The wholeness it seeks is its own ground. Oh, I hope you guys can see that. In Zen's non-dual suchness approach, Satori is not an event, but the groundless ground. In life, approach projects not as stepping stones to promotion or validation, seeking the fruits of action, but as the immediate expression of your already complete nature. A parent changing a diaper at 3 a.m. does so not to be a good parent, but because of intrinsic nobility, their Buddha nature manifesting in compassion for their child. Exhaustion then becomes joyful participation. And I'm sure you guys can see that. Certainly I've changed a lot of diapers in my lifetime, and I would have definitely been better off as a parent had I had that attitude, but I didn't know about Zen at the time. Any seeking, here's your pro tip, any seeking reifies the illusion of a separate seeker. Do you see that? This is exactly what praying without ceasing does. It reinforces separateness and a lack of suchness in oneself and everything. That's why you're praying without ceasing, right? Because you are feeling this reinforced separateness, not realizing that by praying without ceasing, you reinforce the separateness because you keep proclaiming it. It's like the person who continues to talk about their psychological hang-up 20 years later with the same counselor. There's been no change. You're just regurgitating the problem, and so you stay in the problem, and you just keep talking about the problem, It's the same concept as being the sinner. That's a problem. And so you keep, in Christianity, you keep talking about the sin impulse. Having accountability parts to deal with the sin impulse. Having all kinds of means and plans and setting your life up so that you don't get too tempted, so that you don't fall, to deal with the sin impulse. Guess where that keeps you? It keeps you in the sin impulse. It keeps you from this idea. It keeps you in the idea that all you do is sin. And so you're praying all the time to not sin, praying for forgiveness, praying for God to release you from the sin, from being captured in sin, from being addicted to sin. Why do you think you're staying in the sin concept? You're constantly talking about it. You're constantly trying to avoid it. You're constantly fighting it. You're constantly engaging it. So you stay in it. Like the bitter person has a chip on their shoulder. Why do they got a chip on their shoulder? Because they're staying in the anger of whatever happened to them that caused them to have the chip on the shoulder. And it's more comfortable, easy, and reliable to keep the chip than to deal with it and remove the chip. It's a lot easier just to keep the chip. It's a lot easier to just keep complaining. Keep telling people your problems. Keep telling people what you're upset about. Keep telling people those that harmed you and hurt your life and keep you from expanding. You keep talking like that, you're never going to expand. You're going to stay locked in the behaviors that were done to you, which means you then are staying in that space. It's not the person that harmed you. It's you staying in the space. Do you see? The deeper insight shows you this. That's why it's a pro tip. Any seeking reifies the illusion of a separate seeker. This is exactly what praying without ceasing does. It reinforces separateness and a lack of suchness in oneself and everything. You see? And you know why people don't like to hear that? Because they hate the idea of self-responsibility. They hate the idea of thinking differently. They want to just do their go-to. That's what people want. That's why they hate it when I say that prayer is narcissism. They hate that because prayer is their go-to. It's their go-to. And they can't stand someone to say something that goes against their go-to. That's called an adolescent mentality. You can't handle someone disagreeing with you. You can't handle someone saying that you disagree with. And the adolescent child starts crying when that happens. And that's why people get derangement syndromes, because they have an adolescent psychology. And a name, a person, a voice, a way is enough to ruin their day and blow them up for 2 hours. They haven't transcended. They're stuck. They're in this person. They're stuck in the recidivism. They're reifying the illusion of a separate seeker. They're reifying the illusion of this sense of hate that they keep regurgitating. So they stay in the space. Do you see? Just seeing it logically frees you from it. This is how you set yourself free. Purposeless awareness of suchness, coalescing non-difference. Zazen, or sitting Zen, dissolves the ego's habitual symbol-forming activity, allowing the psyche to rest in an organic feeling of the collective unconscious. For example, a person who, after 10 years of analyzing anxiety in their dreams, begins 10 minutes of daily Zazen practice. This opens a new pathway of unknown experience, doing something different than continuing to analyze the anxiety like we just talked about, and suddenly feels the I that worries dissolves into birds chirping, wind blowing, and absolute silence. In that space of no thought and raw experience, the anxiety loses its grip because the mind stops reinforcing its own separateness or narrating its own lack or imagining a peace that's sure to come as a result of seeking answers. Do you see how nutty it is to do that? True seeing occurs when the mind is not thinking about the world, but is the world. Subject and object collapse into one flowering, undivided event. Look out over the landscape and no longer see clouds and water, but the vastness in which they are participating. Like the sun growing plants, a deer grazing grass, and the ground that someday transforms the deer into vegetation, growing in the sunshine. You see the circle? The circle of life. Your birth, your life, your death are these same events, only presented in different costumes, in other timelines, under alternate environmental pressures, and within differing layers of consciousness. But it's all the same singular event unfolding. Meditation, then, is not to get you anywhere or accomplish anything. You are enlightenment already. And meditation resonates into an awareness of this. This is why it says here, becoming the world. Meaning no resistance, no layers, no distance, right? It's all the same singular event unfolding. And this will remove you from the idea that you can make a mistake. How about them apples? Because aren't your mistakes your greatest lessons? Right? So when you commit a mistake, are you really committing a mistake or are you learning a lesson? Different perspective. I'm not saying overall, I'm saying different perspective. If you approach your life in these different kinds of perspectives, this is how you make friendships with things that destroy you, so that they no longer are destroying you, and you transcend them by integrating, coalescing, amalgamating with those things. Because when I live in resistance and anger and hatred of those things that harm me, you see, I stay the resistive hatred person that I'm trying to not be, or not wanting to be. And Zen makes you aware of this. It makes you aware that you actually are the one most likely generating the problems in your life. And people really don't like to hear that, because it's so much easier to say, you're a cretin for telling me not to pray, Chuck. You're a cretin. You're the devil incarnate. It's much more easier to throw that at me than it is to look at yourself and say, why do I keep asking permission, seeking approval, and expecting reproof? Why am I behaving like that? Why do I keep looking for answers outside of myself? Why am I doing that? Who is it that I'm actually praying to? Who is it that I'm actually talking to? Because ultimate reality isn't personal. It's not personal. It's there. It's ether. It's not a personal thing. And so when you make it personal, do you see how verklempt spiritually you become? Because you've made it a personal thing. You've made it essentially a vendetta rather than allowing it to be what it's going to be. Until you see those things, until you see the world this clearly, you're going to stay in the captured world. You're going to stay thinking that you're not the Buddha, that you're not Christ consciousness. You're going to stay in these ideas that you're not those things, that something's wrong with you, that something needs to be corrected. There's nothing wrong and nothing needs to be corrected. The life tragedies you experience in your life either kill you or make you stronger. You determine that. You determine that through your attitude and perspectives. You will get hurt. You will get stomped on in life. That's called life. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing going wrong. The stomping on your head repeatedly and beating you down like that, there's nothing wrong. You're staying in that position because you don't change your perspective. If you change your perspective, the abuse will stop. Change your perspective. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about the child that is tied up and can't escape. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mental cages and torture and tapes that you do, keep you there. Keep you there. So until you change the tapes, until you change the perspectives, you ain't changed. It's nothing's going to change. You're going to stay in a purgatory. You're going to keep believing someone's going to come save you. You're going to keep praying for someone to come save you because you don't realize the situation and you don't have the clarity to understand your situation. And so you're reacting in a way that is inappropriate to the reality you're in, which is why nothing changes for you. That's why. You have to change your perspective. You must leave the farm. You must stop believing you're a sinner. You must stop believing there's something wrong with you. You must stop believing that the world is fallen and has to be fixed. These are egregores. We awaken past them in the same way you awaken past those that held you down and abused you as a child. You transcend those hideous people that harmed you. You transcend that. That's your choice. Do you have the deeper consciousness? Do you have the deeper love? Do you have the deeper understanding to do that without trying? Because it ain't about forgiveness. It's about transcending, friend. It's about transcending. There's nothing to forgive. Do you understand that? There's nothing to forgive. Your life tragedies are your life lessons. Grow from them and move on. There's nothing to forgive. Grow from them and move on. Take the bigger perspective. Move into the higher frequency. Stop basing your life on revenge, fear. What's in it for you? That's how you change the world. You change the world through change of perspective. Continuing. Okay, we saw that last time. Moving. Let's do some more reading. Page 158. The ritualistic or ceremonious type or a ceremonious style is so characteristic of Zen that it may need some explanation to... Let me start again here. My brain's fading. The ritualistic or ceremonious style is so characteristic of Zen that it may need some explanation in a culture which has come to associate it with affectation and superstition. I mean, welcome to modern society. In Buddhism, the four principal activities of man walking, standing, sitting, and lying are called the four dignities, since they are the postures assumed by the Buddha nature, in its human body. The ritualistic style of conducting one's everyday activities is therefore a celebration of the fact that the ordinary man, do you have this in your mind? The ordinary man is a Buddha and is, furthermore, a style that comes almost naturally to a person who is doing everything with total presence of mind. Isn't that interesting? Thus, if in something so simple and trivial as lighting a cigarette, one is fully aware, seeing the flame, the curling smoke, and the regulation of the breath as the most important things in the universe, it will seem to an observer that the action has a ritualistic style. This idea of living your life in a ritual. This attitude of acting as a Buddha is particularly stressed in the Soto school, where both Zazen and the round of daily activities are not at all seen as means to an end, but as the actual realization of Buddhahood. As Dogen says in the Shobogenzo, without looking forward to tomorrow every moment, you must think only of this day and this hour, because tomorrow is difficult and unfixed and difficult to know. You must think of following the Buddhist way while you live today. You must concentrate on Zen practice without wasting time, thinking that there is only this day and this hour. After that, it becomes truly easy. You must forget about the good and bad of your nature, like I was just saying earlier, the strength or weakness of your powers. In Zazen, there must be no thought either of aiming at Satori or of avoiding birth and death. So striving for anything in future time. No striving for anything in future time. Again, seeking the fruits. If life comes, this is life. If death comes, this is death. See, this is nonplussed. If life comes, it comes. If death comes, it comes. There is no reason for your being under their control. Meaning, nonplussed. Don't let other institutions, people, beliefs control you, because then you're being controlled. Thank you, Yogi Berra. Don't put any hope in them. This life and death are the life of the Buddha. If you try to throw them away in denial, you lose the life of the Buddha. And again, that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't understand that the tragedies that happen to you are your greatest lessons. And as long as you keep running from them or stay angry about them, you won't learn the lesson. That's a tragedy. The lesson is right there. It's right there available for you. But you're going to have to see differently to find it, to discover it. To know answers without having to discover them, sorry, to know the answers without having so discovered them would be like studying the map without taking the journey. Lacking the actual shock of recognition, the bare answers seem flat and disappointing, and obviously no competent master would be deceived by anyone who gave them without the general feeling. You see, and this is the important part of meriting your understanding. When someone just hands you the quote-unquote truth, hands you the world and so on and so forth, you haven't merited those understandings of the world and who you are. And until you merit those things through life experience and giving yourself and risking, right, the answers that are delivered to you will not hold the value and impact that learning yourself will teach you. Again, another reason why the hardest lessons you learn are the best lessons you learn. And those are always the ones that you have to go through, not told to you. That's why when somebody tells you a story of this hell they went through, it's not going to teach you what it taught them, because they went through it. They went through it. It's like a person who's in a prison camp in the Far East for 10 years. They can tell you about it. They can tell you what they went through, but you'll never have the impact that they did. You'll learn some lessons from them. They'll tell you stuff that'll be like, wow, that really opens my perspective. Yeah, but it's not going to have the impact that actually going through with it does. Follow? This is what Zen is pointing towards: authenticity. There is no reason, however, why the process should actually involve all the silliness about grades of attainment, about who has passed and who has not, about who is or is not a genuine Buddha. By these formal standards, all well-established religious institutions are beset by this kind of nonsense, and they generally boil down to a kind of asceticism and aestheticism and excessive passion for the cultivation of a special style whose refinements distinguish the sheep from the goats. And this is the language that you hear every Sunday morning in the sanctuary between people. They are talking the vocabulary of Christianity. They are talking the way you talk when you're at church, the way you talk when you're around people that are not the folks that you work with at work. Because the way you talk with the folks at work is typically very different than the way you talk with people at church. And it is this type of plasticity that Zen is pointing towards. You see, the sheep from the goats. The authentic individual is the one that isn't going to change the conversation or vocabulary behavior between the groups that they hang out with. They're going to be consistent across the board. It's one of the highest qualities of my father that I observed growing up under his tutelage, was that my father was the same dude everywhere he went. The dude that you saw on the pulpit was the same dude that was raising me at home. I heard the same stories from the pulpit right there in the house. Dad was the same guy. Same guy. You see, and this is the genuineness, the authenticity that was so attractive to others. It's one of the reasons why my dad did so well, is that he just really had nothing to hide. And he's just going to tell you the way that it is. He's just going to be himself. There's no script. And anytime there's a script, there's an element of inauthenticity there, because it's not words coming straight out of the heart. It's words coming out of the mind because they're being read. Do you follow? And it's this kind of authentic living that that self-empowers the individual and attracts others to them. By such standards, the liturgical athlete can distinguish Roman from Anglican Catholic priests, confusing the mannerisms of traditional atmosphere with the supernatural marks of true or false participation in the apostolic succession. Sometimes, however, the cultivation of a traditional style may be rather admirable, as when a school of craftsmen or artists hand down from generation to generation certain trade secrets or technical refinements whereby objects of peculiar beauty are manufactured. Even so, this very easily becomes a rather affected and self-conscious discipline, and at that moment, all its Zen is lost. Meaning, as soon as the applique, as soon as the unoriginal surfaces, all the Zen's lost. Pro tip: think of the Buddha or any god as the perennial philosophy in mythic form. This is changing perspective now. The next step then is to understand you are the perennial philosophy in this mortal form. This is why your life is the hero's journey, a living myth, the mortal who took on the spiritual journey of becoming truth in contextual form, myth in existential form, and profundity in biological form. Please note that last sentence. This is you. The mortal who took on the spiritual journey of becoming truth in contextual form, myth in existential form, and profundity in biological form. Folks, this is why a plastic life won't satisfy you. This is why a life of parroting others' belief won't satisfy you, because this here is the initiation for you, taking on the spiritual journey of becoming truth in contextual form. How do you become truth in contextual form? You experience pain. You experience life authentically the way that it is. It isn't taught. It isn't taught. You don't understand this level of profundity in life, the truth in contextual form, myth in existential form, and profundity in biological form. You don't get that unless you have experienced life for yourself, because that stuff isn't delivered in a book. That type of understanding of the world happens through experience, the authentic experience of living. And this is why that is so rare to find in people, because very few people are willing to risk the authentic life. They would rather live the sure thing. They would rather ask permission, seek approval, and expect reproof rather than actually risk those things on their own, right? Because belief systems build cowards. They build believers, people that are not acting from their heart. They're acting from belief. And the only way you're going to truly not be a coward is if you act from the heart. If you act from the authentic self, meaning there is no act. That's being the truth, because the truth can't be thought or told. And when I'm acting from the heart, I'm acting from the space of truth outside of words. And this is why actions become appropriate when they source from the heart rather than the mind. Heavy, heavy psychology that's important to know about yourself. We're looking good on time, 7:25. The lotus posture and belly, we're going to talk about meditation for a minute. The lotus posture and belly breathing in meditation shift the center of gravity to the abdomen, producing a still, bright clarity while preventing sluggishness. This embeds the meditator into ritual and practice. Consistent practice renders the nature of embodied consciousness. It bridges the philosophical mind-body problem of understanding the interaction between consciousness and thought. As meditators of that interplay, losing perspective compromises the actual experience. This is so key. Losing perspective compromises the actual experience of translating navigation of psychic to of physic to psychic and psychic to physic. Now follow. Meditation offers an embodied discipline that recalibrates, follow, the autonomic nervous system. That is your fight or flight, rest and digest system. Recalibrates the autonomic nervous system, the nerves to physical action system in the body. An erect spine, closed eyes, non-moving posture, and slow in and out breath naturally leverage down regulation into the sympathetic nervous system or fight and flight response. You realize every time a person takes a stimulant in the morning, they are upregulating that system and therefore causing addiction and causing imbalance. You realize that. So if you're taking a stimulant every morning, right, you are dysregulating the autonomic nervous system that controls your motivations, inspiration, mood, and so forth. Action. It is the mind to action, nervous system to action system. And so the purpose of meditation is to mellow the autonomic nervous system naturally, slowing the breath purposefully, slow blinking the eyes or closing the eyes, lowering the tone, not responding to all the noises and everything, but just allowing those noises to move through you like sound moves through your head, just allowing it to just move through you. You see, this is deregulating, meaning you're toning down naturally, not through force, but through natural slow breathing, natural steady state, natural release of the mind. You see, when you take a stimulant in the morning, you're pushing the autonomic nervous system and saying, wake up, give me energy. I'm going to be tired without this stimulant. Give me energy, autonomic nervous system. And you are putting your will, your determination, your drive into your nervous system. You're putting, it's like poking at someone. You're just aggravating them. And what you're doing when you put a stimulant into that autonomic nervous system in the morning, you're aggravating it. You're putting it out of balance. And the point of meditation is to right at the nervous system layer, the ANS, to calm things down, not with drugs, not with force, but with simply level breathing, calmness, ease. And this puts you into the state of learning. Imagine that, of being nonplussed, where you're not reactive, where you can actually stay objective, right? And you can see the world and not get taken by it and not get all up concerned about it, but allowing it to be. This is the point of meditation. And the point I'm making here is why it's so important to engage in meditation, especially for those who are highly anxious and highly stimulated. And the person who is jamming their body every morning with some type of stimulant, coffee or whatever, every single morning, right? They're putting themselves out of whack. They're dysregulating their autonomic nervous system, the very system that is generating the mind-body interplay of their day. Now you know why meditation is so important, and living a life of nonplussed meditation, because you are always in the state of awareness, learning, release, becoming, growing. That's the important meditation. Very clear. This both physio and neuro relaxation, biologically and mentally, open behavior and thought patterns, unlike those practiced in the waking action hours of the day, or the waking action hours of the day, which, remember, was the environment that generated the anxiety in the first place. Remember that. Remember that. Why are you anxious? One of the major reasons why you're anxious, or one of the contributing factors, is your environment. Where do you put yourself? Where are you going? Where are you putting your eyes and your head every day? Do you see? What's the environment that's generating the anxiety? Are you doing something about it? Are you changing your perspective? Are you changing what you're seeing so that you can lower your anxiety naturally? Okay, a new setting stimulates alternate electromagnetic currents, of course, and for real, that attract higher resonation. Well, what do you know? Higher feelings, eased perspectives, unavailable in the behaving, speaking, acting, seeking state. You see, those things are not available to you when you're in the reactive, this behaving, speaking, acting, seeking state. Whereas when you're in the eased perspective and the nonplussed state, see, this is the Zen state. The greatest truths are not told, they are felt. And this is a great lead into the video I have of 5 minutes with Watts, and where he emphasizes here, this is just about 2 minutes, and he's going to emphasize why words deregulate your now, disassociate your now. Ideas, assumptions, alienate you from the now. See, watch. This ties right into what we're saying.
Once upon a time, there was a Zen student who quoted an old Buddhist poem to his teacher, which says, "The voices of torrents are from one great tongue. The lines of the hills are the pure body of Buddha." "Isn't that right?" he said to the teacher. "It is," said the teacher, "but it's a pity to say so. It would be, of course, much better if this occasion were celebrated with no talk at all, and if I addressed you in the manner of the ancient teachers of Zen, I should hit the microphone with my fan and leave. Because Zen is a way of life, a state of being that is not possible to embrace in any concept whatsoever. So that any concepts, any ideas, any words that I shall put across to you this evening will have as their object showing you the limitations of words and of thinking.
You see? So words just take the moment away. It's like in that scene from The Hunt from Red October. And who was it? What was it? Han Solo's, what was his name? Harrison Ford. Oh, no, it wasn't Harrison Ford. Well, I can't remember who it was, but it was the actor that was there at the scene in The Hunt for Red October. And the captain of the sub congratulates the protagonist in the story for not saying anything. They're looking at a sunset, and everything is quiet. And that's the point that's being made here with Zen. Words cover over the truth. This is a tough concept for the Westerner, but words are simply hiding the actual truth. They point towards it, yes, but they are not the truth. It's the actual experience, the actual sight, the actual observance that is going to offer you the greatest amount of truth, not an application, meaning a word, a definition. This is the true sense of everything is beyond a definition, is beyond an idea. And when you see the whole world as that, you see, it not only makes you silent, but it makes your action, it becomes your action as appropriate. Your action becomes appropriate because you realize the profundity in all things. And there's no words for that. So you sit in admiration and respect for this, and this changes you because you're not putting words on it. You're just simply integrating the profundity of it and seeing it for what it actually is, not for what words go into your mind. It's like when you see a child and you know their name and their interest or whatever, that doesn't really actually show you who they really are. You're going to have to hang out and see them and watch what they do, see what they say and what they're, all that kind of stuff. Observe them. Then you'll be able to understand who they are. But not if the kid is just writing sentences about himself. Life is the same way. And as long as you have belief systems that are putting their words on it, you see, life is never going to render its truth to you. Right? It's going to render its truth to you when you release from the words, the assumptions, the beliefs. This is what Zen is pointing you towards. Yeah. What do we got next? Shall we do number 4? Or shall we go? Oh, I got a lot of comments. What time is it? 7:36. You know what? Let's, I'm pretty tapped. This will be our slide for next week. I'm going to go to comments and finish the hour, finish up this 20 minutes in comments. And we'll get back to this. This is slide, let's see, slide 4, Celebration of the Ordinary Human Buddha. Okay. Let's go to the chat and let's see what you guys are doing. I'm going to go to the bottom. That's it. Alec Baldwin. That was it. Yeah, he is. But I was just talking about the movie. I was just talking about I'm not talking about the characters in real life. I'm talking about the movie scene. I'm not saying that these are good people. I'm talking about the movie scene, please. That's funny. That's a funny line, mythological music. Thanks for that, Chuck. Can humanism proceed or at least lead to transcending, or is the impact of the arduous journey needed? You know, Don, I have never met a person who saw deeply into life that had an easy life. And all the Buddhas or gurus or the people that claim to know, the ones that had never really had challenge in their life and had simply learned from a book, there's an out of touch sense that goes along with them. The person who has been in the foxhole, the person who has gotten their hands bloody, meaning they've really harmed themselves, and they've really done things to themselves that some of which can't even be recovered, like some of my poor decisions in my past and the humiliation rituals I went through. I can't get that person that was then back. You know, in one way, I don't want that, but the innocence is lost. You can't stay innocent and get through life. You know, if you stay innocent, you stay out of touch. If you stay locked in books and going off to these weekend retreats and, you know, you learn this stuff that the great guru teaches you, and now, man, I'm going to be the Zen person. Now I'm going to be a good person. These aren't changes that happen by choices like that. They change. Life changes in that way when you see life differently, when the perspective changes. And the only way you can do that is if you get out and risk. Because how much is another person going to be able to bring you? Sure, they can bring you some, you know, sob stories. They can bring you some tough stories. They can bring you some war stories, tragic stories. Absolutely. But the real lesson isn't going to be learned until you live out some of those stories they talked about yourself in your own way. Honestly, you guys know that. And really, we didn't come here for it to be easy. Is nature safe? You know, nature's not safe. You did not come here for an easy ride. You came here for a tough go. You came here for a tough go. You didn't come here for the easy gig, because we all know how horrible those people are by the time they reach 50, if they've had an easy life. They're typically a nasty individual. Whereas the person that's really been through it, got through it, and transcended it, that person understands, because none of it was taught to them. It was felt. It wasn't telt, it was felt. And when you feel it, you learn a lot more than when you're just told it, right? So let's go to where I was. Can humanism, okay, that was Dawn's question. Let's go down to the next one that's all caps. A type of forced humility, perhaps. Not forced, learned. Yeah, humility can't be pushed in any more than love can be pushed out, okay? And vice versa. So humility is something that comes out of compassion. And you become compassionate when you are humiliated. Does that make sense? Like, I've been humiliated so many times that I've realized if I'm constantly having ideas of myself, I'm going to be projecting those things and I'm going to humiliate myself. Whereas when I release from what I'm holding on to, I can't be humiliated because I'm not concerned with myself. Do you follow? I'm not taking myself seriously. Well, I learned to not take myself seriously through humiliation, realizing that I shouldn't take myself seriously, that I can't be taken seriously. That's not the point. The point is experience and loving and showing compassion to others. And humility just naturally comes out of that space. The more I love, the more compassion I render, the more I give myself to the needs of the environment in the world. And it takes a humble person to do that, right? Right. And so humbleness is like respect. It's not something that you earn, you know, or it's not something that's taught. It's something that you realize, and other people earn it. Their respect. Like if someone wants you to respect them, then they're going to engage in activities that draw out and evoke respect from others. But see, if their motivation is the fruit of getting that respect, then their actions will never be true and authentic. Does that make sense? No, Max, that's something you're going to share tomorrow at Zoom. So no, that's for you, man. I'm not going to take your energy. I'm not going to take it from you. Okay. This is an interesting. I like this question. Is it true that ignorance is the gift? I don't know if I would call ignorance a gift. I would just call it a reality. I guess it could be seen as a gift in one way or another, because if you go into ignorance and you are ignorant, you're going to harm yourself, you're going to harm others, and you're going to learn from it, and ignorance will become the initiator to your learning more and deeper things. This is one of the ways that you can remove the conflict out of life, in understanding that there's both sides to everything. So in one way, yes, Ritmi, of course, ignorance is required in order for there to be growth in one sense. In another one, you never want to be ignorant, you know, because you want to be aware. So there's two sides to everything. And again, this shows the importance of not picking sides in this world, of not getting one opinion of this world, because that generates ignorance. It generates more problems. Whereas if I have an open mind, if I'm willing to learn, if I don't take myself seriously, these kinds of things, I will refrain from being ignorant in the same way by not knowing, because that's the way I can reframe my ignorance in a way to learn from, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, you can see it both ways. And that's the complexity and the profundity of the world. In the same way you could say, well, a person has to have evil in their life in order to go through pain and to be able to learn. Yep, that's one way of seeing evil as, and in a sense, as God, because you learn from the pain, the evil that is done from you. And this way, you can then begin to not be sighted, and you move more and more towards the center of the wheel of samsara, not being captured. And by transcending your pain, transcending your humiliation, you transcend the wheel of becoming. And you still are experiencing reality and seeing and are fully present, but you're in the hub. So you're not taken by it. Makes sense? So it's deep concepts with every single one of these really good questions like that, because there's different perspectives of it. Here, Chuck, what is your perspective of we who stay cloistered. Well, you don't want to stay tied down. You want to keep growing. And that means you've got your hands in it, but at the same time, you're not keeping your hands in it. You're in and out simultaneously. You're both in the present now, fully aware, and at the same time in the unconscious, fully not aware at the same time. That's, again, enigma. That's life. That's what it means to be in nature. Nothing is held down. There are no, in many ways, there are no final answers. And as long as you keep seeking final answers, like, what's going to happen when I die? I want to know the exact story. What's the best way to approach life right now? Give me the 3 best steps, right? What's the best way to make a friend? What's the best way to me to love someone? You know, you can get some good answers. You can get some, you know, stuff that'll help, but truly knowing, right? That's through release. That's through unknown. Yeah. Here it is again, that double. Isn't it funny how life is like that? It's both. Transcending was during life, wouldn't be able to know the now. Hindsight, 2025. Exactly. See? You are both in the state of transcending right now, as well as the state of stagnancy, because the world can't finally be known, and neither can you. And you just get with it. Meaning you just accept that, coalesce with it. I have a bunch of answers, and I have a bunch of answers I don't have. Welcome to life. I mean, I'm not looking for the final answer. I'm not looking for a destiny. I'm not looking to get anywhere. I'm looking for the experience. But not looking for the experience. I'm just available. Like talks a little bit, that touches a little bit into the whole preparation idea, and that you are always setting a stage of preparation in your life. So you're always prepared to learn. You don't have the answers, but in also the same way, you do have a few answers in the sense of, you know, humanness, understanding love, understanding the sense of compassion and the sense of respect and caring and so on and so forth. You learn about these things, like, so you're growing. So some things you do learn and have a quote unquote answer for, but it never ends. There's no final resting point. It never stops. Nature is a wellspring. It continues to grow and burgeon and become endlessly, and you'll never get it to stop. That's the way it becomes. And right here in this reality, it becomes through dynamisms, through positive and negative, good and evil. That's how it manifests. Yeah. Yeah. Good call there, Catalin. I like that. Yeah. And it's hard, man. It's a hard lesson to learn. Is this like looking for your glasses while wearing them? Yeah. Like if I am trying to love someone, let's say, that's already in me. I already have the love. There's no try. It's just expressing that. But if I'm trying to find love, like if I'm trying to look for a reason to love, I've missed the point. Do you see? If I'm trying to find God in something, you're missing the point, because God is it is the man you are looking. The world is the manifestation of God. So if you're looking for God, you've missed the point, because you're living in God. You see? And so if you don't realize that you're the Buddha, if you don't realize that you're perfect just as you are, right, you'll continually be looking for your perfection, not realizing that you are perfection incarnate. It's this thing that's getting in the way. As soon as you get this out of the way, you will become the heart-centered human being that you truly desire to be, deep, deep down inside. It's this thing is getting in the way, looking for means and ways, answers, absolutes, final authority, this kind of a thing. Asking permission, seeking approval, expecting reproof. That's not an unborn mind. That's an anxious mind. That's a catchy, grabby mind. Do you see? And so, yeah, it's a frustrating exercise to look for your glasses while you're wearing them. In the same way, it's a frustrating exercise to look for love when you are love incarnate, and you just haven't realized it yet. Same idea. You're welcome, Don. Thanks for your answer, Chuck. I have indeed paid my pound of flesh. Perhaps I'm surprised to feel somewhat on the other side of my trials. Yeah. Yeah, nothing wrong with that, Don. All good. Yeah. Yeah. The child that doesn't know anything is the wisest. No caps. All good? All good? Yeah, here's my link on Zoom. Happy to answer questions. I'm right here for you. We got about 10 minutes. We can hang out together. Yeah, this. The test of heart rate intelligence is the ability to hold the two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and retain the ability to function exactly. This is how you know you're caught up in a syndrome or a complex if you can't hold two antithetical ideas in your mind at the same time. And we do that all the time in Zen. We do that all the time. And just now with the mind, no mind. Like the wise one is the one that doesn't have a mind. But if I don't have a mind, then how can I have any kind of discernment? Because a discernment requires me to have a mind to work through something and, discern. So there's this double negatives all over the place. All over the place. Welcome to life. Welcome to life. And that's completely fine. That's the welcome to life. 9mm. Sometimes I think we're on an eternal quest to understand the universe, and this life is just the beginning of that never-ending. Yeah, I agree with that 9mm. It's comforting to think of this way for me. Yeah, I agree with that 9mm because I believe originally the Earth was a nursery for souls, where souls, young souls, emerging out of the void, have sort of a first trial kind of a thing. One of the layers of reality. And so like the baby has to learn language, has to learn behavior, has to learn all kinds of stuff in order to fit into the society. We as a soul have to learn all kinds of stuff to fit into the layer, into the reality. That to learn, grow. Even though the soul knows everything, can't learn anything, there's still this experience. Experience is raw, new, can't be known. There you go. And so we're here to experience that, to experience the impossible. And so, yeah, it is a non-ending journey of becoming. And the Earth is a starting point to me, and it's going to return to that in many ways. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're exactly right, Lancelot. Music will change your think of when you play one of your favorite songs or your favorite band or whatever. You tell me, doesn't your whole spirit lift? Like you can't keep it from that. I'll hear songs that I love to drum to, and I just can't stop in my head raising my vibration and starting to tap out the beats of the music. It raises your vibration, and music is an incredible healer. An incredible healer. Yeah, you are, Max. And it's an honor to have you there, buddy. I love you like a friend, man. Love you like a brother. Absolutely love having you there. I don't think Sally's a mod, is she? I don't have a Sally mod as far as I know. Do I? Scooter, tell me. Because you shouldn't be muted, buddy. You're what you have to say is very helpful. Here we go. Hi, Soja. When the other is goading and stalking to sting, deflect, how does one deal with it? I have no desire to engage and be part of that interchange. Yeah. Change your environment. Leave the space. You can't enable abusers by staying there and allowing them to abuse you. You have to leave the space. And it's hard. It's hard to leave. When you're in a codependent, abusive relationship, it's almost impossible for the enabler to leave. And the alcoholic or the drug addict or whoever is the addict on the other side of the coin, they ain't going to leave because they've got a person who is an enabler, who goes to the store and gets them the booze, who goes to the drug dealer, gets them the drugs, who gives them the place to stay so they don't have to be on the street, and they can live their addict lifestyle with the person who's complicit with it, the enabler. And so in order to change the abusive syndrome that's going on between both people, the one that's got a mind left, any sense of compassion for themselves and the other, has to be willing to leave. I'm not trying to promote in what I say about embracing the things that have harmed you. I'm not saying to become a sadist and to enjoy pain. I'm not or a masochist and enjoy pain. I'm not saying that. I'm saying don't let the mistakes you certainly did not intend to make hold you down 5, 10 years or more later, because then you haven't learned from the mistake. You've stayed in it, and that's your problem. That's your problem. You see? Yeah, right there. Yeah, I agree with you. Love you too, buddy. Love you too. Yeah, love you, of course. Of course. Cheeky chap, I will explain how reality and consciousness works, how you think we are doing all of these things. No, we are not. How your body uses us is up to the mind body. Yeah, it's isn't it interesting how life is ephemeral like that? Hard to get your hands on it. You know, kind of the stuff that you're talking about there. I mean, you can't give a final answer for consciousness. You can't give a final answer for reality. You know, these are past definitions. Yeah. And our motivations, how do you put a word, or how do you define what motivation is? I mean, where does that come from? It comes from the same places as your dreams. Well, where's that from? But yet you're dreaming, yet you're the motivator. Life is cheeky like that. Yeah, I think human beings are going to, our DNA is going to change. I think ultimately at the end of the day, we are going to right where they screwed up our DNA, and we're going to become even more than we are now. Surely. I think that, I think that, and one of it's going to be life extension. I think it's going to become commonplace for people to live 1,000 years. I think that's going to become commonplace. I think that we are going to become interplanetary. I think we'll be colonizing other planets and galaxies. I think that galactic travel and we're moving through wormholes is coming. I think that we will move towards that. I think that we're going to move into an existence on this planet that really is concerned with spiritual growth and development, that even more so than now. And that life won't, the meaning of life will not be work. The meaning of life will not be money and fortunes. The meaning of life is going to be development. The meaning of life is going to be harnessing the imagination and transcending, and using that imagination to transcend everything. And so I think it's a very bright future we're headed towards. I think we are headed towards a human emergence unlike we can ever imagine. For real. Should I go to the bottom? I'm just going to go to the bottom. Here, let me look up a little bit here. For my grandchildren. That's what I would love too, Max. But to be honest with you, buddy, I made so many bad mistakes through my life. I would love another shot at it, to be completely honest with you, man. I would love to de-age to my 20s and then relive again my life with the priorities that I've learned now as a 55-year-old. And so I want to be able to use the wisdom and pain and humiliation of my life to then make better decisions and then go even further, you know, develop even further. I'm not saying that I want to come back and just learn the lessons I learned and life's going to be blissful. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I want to learn, I want to apply what I have learned, go back 30 years and try again and do a better job. Spend my life giving myself away more, playing more music, learning more instruments, integrating more love into my life through my behaviors, not being concerned about money or working or anything like that, but being completely focused on developing my artistic abilities and understanding the world and others and showing love and compassionate to them, making other people's lives better. That's what I would like to do. And so I'm very excited about de-aging, because I think it's coming. It's just a on-off button in your genetics. If you didn't have that on-off button switch like they did to us to start aging us, which is why we don't live 1,000 years anymore, they turned that off in our chromosomes. In case you didn't know, it's actually our normal lifespan is much more than 1,000 years. We were cut off. So the folks that are fighting that, no, the human lifespan is supposed to be at 100 years, and if we live longer than that, that's not natural. No, that's not true. That's not true. No, we were cut down 90% of our experience and existence was cut off at the DNA. That wasn't our doing. That wasn't natural. That was done by a mercenary that was trying to capture us, that did capture us, okay? So that's getting changed as far as I'm concerned, because that was done to us, and that really harmed our development. And so to me, we come here to develop. And so if there's a way to accelerate and become the development that was originally intended in the human experience of what we're doing, we're going there. We're returning to the archaic in that sense. Make sense? We're going there. You bet, Leon. Kind words and awesome. You're bet. I love you, and I love you too, Chuck. Thank you, bro. You're welcome, man. It's my honor to be here. I love you guys, man. I love you guys. Come on. I love you guys. Happy to be here. Happy to answer questions. Happy. What's this? Hi, Zbon. This is proof. Everything Chuck said, those who seek outside themselves, their concepts, beliefs will unite outside. Everyone else will find each other. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Heck yeah. I love you, Esoteric. I love you guys. Come on. I genuinely care about you guys. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this, because I genuinely care. And I want to just do a better job. I wasn't like this years ago when I was in my 20s and 30s. I didn't reach out to the public. I was very introverted, and I didn't feel the desire to reach to others and connect. And that has happened since I beat cancer, and since I've just transformed sort of my perspective of the world. It has made others around me and the human race in general very valuable to me, because I was always raised in a situation where it's sort of us, we're the winners, and everybody else outside the circle of trust is the losers, And so you can trust other Christians, but you can't trust those non-Christian kind of a thing. And I was really raised in a polarized environment like that, where it was sort of like, we got it right. We've got the laws, the dogma, the God, we've got it all figured out, and everyone else is lost. And when you were raised in that kind of idea where everyone who doesn't think like you is lost, it's very alienating. And so I took that on. I became an alienating kind of person because I was seeing the world sighted like that. I was seeing people as like, well, you haven't found Jesus yet. So, sorry, it's not going to work out for you. And it's this disassociation that's not natural, and it dehumanizes you. And so when I went through the humility, one of my humiliation rituals was contracting cancer and fighting it. Just the realization that I'm the one who ate the bad foods. I'm the one that was in the toxic environment. I have done this to myself. I have created this disease inside myself due to my ignorance, due to my not being aware. And that's very humiliating when you find that out from the doctor, when they say, you know what, this isn't a curse. You did it. Because it's true. You contract cancer through toxin exposure. I did it. That's very humiliating. And especially when you have to realize, okay, I did this to myself. Now I have to get myself out. This is how you develop love for yourself, love for others, and wider perspective, because it's that caged environment you were in that gave you cancer, that made you sick, that made you alienate from others. You did it. And so when you wake up through an alternate world being pushed in on you, for me, it was cancer and psychedelics. You are like, wow, I've been living in a very small reality, and this is why I've been so harmful in my life, and I haven't transcended and grown and developed love and compassion for others. It's because I've been working my whole life to stay in this belief system, separating myself from others and thinking everybody needs to be saved, and thinking that I got to pray in order to be saved from God. And it's like, when you live like that, what is there to say? You're going to live alienated. You're going to live disassociated. You're going to live sighted. You're going to live conflict oriented. And so, yeah, it's tough, but that's how you grow. That's how you merit awareness, is through hard times. That's why people who have had it easy their whole life are the kind of people that I particularly wouldn't want to hang around with, because they are so out of touch with reality. Because life has been easy for them. What is there to respect about their life? They've been cruising their whole existence, living off of, their parents' money or their family's money. There are everyone else supporting them, and they have never actually had to go out and figure it out for themselves. And a person like that, they have an out of touchness that is quite revulsive to people who have been in the foxhole. And you guys know what I'm talking about. That's why oftentimes you see the Hollywood stars that have made it and live in these mansions and everything. They're unrelatable. You can't relate to someone like that. They're living in an existence and world that you have no idea of. And this is what religion does. It puts all the members in sort of this hidey-flighty, we got to figure it out. We're in the right box. We got the right religion, spirit, God, ethic, all that kind of stuff. And, all the other people who haven't figured it out yet. What happens when you live in a life like that? When you live in an existence like that? You alienate yourself. People don't like you because you have this attitude that like you figured it out. You got the answers. You got the right God. Nobody likes a person like that. You can't like someone. You can't like a know-it-all. You can't. And every Western religionist is a know-it-all when it comes to spirituality because they're right and they know it. Do you see? And it catches you in that trap where you think you got it figured out. And when you think you got it figured out, that's when you're the most unattractive to most people. That's why the child is so adorable, because they don't have it figured out. And they'll tell you they don't have it figured out. They're just hanging out. They're being their authentic self. And this is very attractive because we are attracted to the authentic life. We are attracted to the individual who is selfless. What's a baby? Selfless. What's a humble person? Selfless. They're not thinking about themselves. And so they're very lovable. They're very attractive because they're not concerned. They're not a narcissist. They're not expecting. They don't feel entitled. And when you think you're a chosen one, you think you're entitled. You think you're the one. And that's so unattractive. You see? I don't know how I got on that subject, but I did. Oh my gosh, it's after 8. We got to get rolling. Any last questions? I'm going to go to the bottom real quick. Do good and teach the hood you speak, and be nice and choose to do good and grow goodness. You're welcome. Exactly. Be kind. Yes. And I don't have a problem with righteous indignation, meaning, convicted. Like, it's not right for people to abuse children. And I get angry if I see that. I don't tolerate that. That's what anger is for. It gives you power. So yeah, no worries. No worries. Yep. We're about to close it off, guys. I'm about to say goodbye. Love you guys. Thanks for being here, Halo Halo. I hope to see you guys. Remember, tomorrow's Zoom. Don't forget, Stacy, if you're still here, love, can you put in the time? I'll put in the time. We're meeting tomorrow on Zoom. You got to send me an email to get an email to get an invite. And so, yeah, here. Stacy did it. Awesome. Thank you, Stacy. So if you want to go to Zoom tomorrow, we're meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock my time. That is literally in just a matter of hours. If you'd like to be there, we're going to talk about tonight. And please come shoot me an email. You're welcome. You're welcome for the insight. Shoot me an email and I'll get you an invite and we'll get you there. Yeah. Love you guys. Love you guys so much. Thanks for being here. Peace out. Peace out, Matt. Great seeing you, buddy. Love all you guys. Take it easy. I'll see you later. And I hope to see you on Zoom tomorrow.